When he reincarnated as the strongest man in a female-dominated world, women there were. Born roughly 10 times stronger than men, in every family, school, and business. Acted like that settled every single argument. He learned that harsh rule. In a private room, 18 years old, drugged and pinned beneath Tatum Royce. A rich heiress who thought a man's answer was totally optional, Tatum reached for him. Again, but he remembered 3 centuries of sword cultivation, releasing one thread of aura to throw her off balance. Then he walked out. His new name was Derek. Callahan, but this high school senior's body had almost no aura left inside. That single burst left his knees shaking. Tatum glared from the floor, a guard. Followed closely, keeping her phone pointed at him while texting Tatum. He was too weak to stop. Outside in Granite Bay, women unloaded heavy trucks and patrolled while men handled simple store receipts and waited for escorts. History books called men protected. Husbands and Tatum definitely fit that rule. The host's memories pulled him toward a house. Cross town, so he followed them. His father opened the door wearing an apron, saw Derek's bruised wrist and pulled him inside. Did a woman follow you? He asked you. Cannot walk alone at night. Derek hugged him, the host memories already called. This gentleman family, then his older sister, Jillian Callahan, yelled when he opened her bedroom door, slamming her laptop shut instantly. Privacy little. Brother, she snapped, women need educational material too. The paused screen looked extremely educational. He shut the door, study quieter. Jillian just laughed. Warm reunion over, cold reality restored. At dinner, his mother gave Jillian spending money and told her to enjoy the night, then told Derek to stay home. Protect his skin and marry someone successful. He hugged her anyway. His mother reached straight for her purse, asking how much he needed. That hit harder than Tatum's drug. His future apparently belonged to whoever bought his wedding ring. Anyone could treat him like decoration, but touching his family earned a very different response. Upstairs, thousands of love letters stuffed his desk drawers. The previous Derek had been poor, quiet, and dangerously pretty, a tragic combo. He pushed them aside and tried to gather aura. His soulbone sword answered once, then went silent. It had crossed worlds with him, but this weak body could not wake it. Then Jillian's phone called his. A strange woman answered instead of his sister. The gang leader gave him an address and one simple demand: bring the ransom alone, or Jillian would leave in pieces. That night, his culture shock ended. He picked up a ransom bag, grabbed his mother's emergency cash, and reached a room behind a closed nightclub. 3 women guarded the door while 6 waited inside. Jillian sat tied to a chair with a bleeding, split lip. The blue-haired leader took the bag, counted money, and cut Jillian loose, but then she blocked his path. Your sister can leave, the leader told him, but you stay. A face like yours covers the inconvenience. The room laughed. Jillian stopped moving and Derek quickly moved his sister behind him. The leader smirked, calling him a good boy with backbone before he slapped her across the mouth. Her head snapped sideways and all the laughter died. You kidnapped his sister, he told her. Keep talking and negotiate with fewer teeth. The leader swung first, fully expecting her raw strength to settle things. He read her shoulder, stepped inside the punch, and drove his elbow into her ribs. A second thug grabbed his shirt, but he sent her crashing into the table. 2 rushed together. Derek drops one fighter and blocks the second with her. The last 2 inside charge from opposite sides. He kicks one hard into the wall and slams the other across the table. Then 3 door guards rush inside. He hurls the first into the doorframe, sweeps the second, and kicks the third straight across the ransom bag. His body lacks power, but his timing has 3 centuries of experience. Every attacker is down. Jillian stops cowering and just stares at him. The gang leader crawls toward the ransom bag. Derek steps firmly on the strap belonging to his family. She pulls a handgun. His aura is completely empty and her barrel looks steady. Then the door swings open. Tatum Royce enters with 6 guards, including the woman who had tracked Derek from the party. The gang leader lowers her gun. Tatum's guards keep their hands near their weapons, but every other gang member is already on the floor. Tatum looks at Jillian's bruises, then at the weapon still aimed at Derek. Take her away, Tatum orders. She does not leave alive. 2 guards drag the gang leader out. The women Derek dropped stay exactly where he left them. Tatum crosses the room and hooks one finger under Derek's chin. This is Derek, she announces, my 36th boyfriend. Jillian's mouth falls open. Derek moves her hand away, noting her first 35 boyfriends failed to teach her rejection. Tatum smiles. You escaped once, you lost once, she says. Her guards tighten around Jillian and him. Derek could take down several, but his body would quit before clearing the room, so he uses the rule. Tatum trusts most, pointing at the table. Arm wrestle me, you win, I go. With you if I win, Jillian and I walk. Tatum sits, one hand, one match, freedom. Tatum grips his palm, warning boyfriend 36 not to cry. Try remembering her name. After this, the guard calls start. She drives his arm halfway down the table. Groans, his shoulders scream, her smile widens. Derek opens the aura channel. Behind his wrist, her hand freezes. Tatum leans harder, her smile slips. Derek twists his wrist, slamming her hand against the wood. A loud crack echoes. Through the room, Jillian stares at him as if he replaced her brother during the ransom exchange, which is honestly a fair assessment. The guards look from Tatum's hand to Derek's face. Two guards who were smirking instantly stand at attention without being told. Tatum keeps her palm flat on the table for 3 slow seconds. Then she laughs. It is the sound of a woman who found a new problem and decided to flirt with it. One guard steps forward, asking if they should chase him. When he leaves, Tatum slaps the guard hard enough to spin her around. He beat me under my own rules. Tatum snaps, demanding respect. The guard lowers her head and Jillian catches that detail too. Tatum rises, circling Derek once. Your technique is clever, but your body is weak, she says. Thanks for reviewing the product. You need protection. Tatum continues. A man with your face and attitude will always attract trouble everywhere. Derek gestures at the wrecked room. The trouble appears to be having a much worse evening. Jillian covers a laugh with her hand. Tatum's gaze sharpens. Does he think one victory changes how this world works? Derek thinks worlds learn slowly and people learn after impact. She glances at the table. Good. She looks at the cracked wood. Tatum steps even closer. Men here live longer because women protect them, inheriting comfort and avoiding blood entirely. You could choose a powerful family and never struggle again. Jillian shifts nervously beside Derek. She spent her entire life hearing that speech as absolute common sense. He looks at. He watches the door where the gang leader vanished. Tatum uses the same rule to price him after taking his sister. He warns her that protection quickly becomes ownership. The second his own choices stop mattering, making Tatum freeze. For once, her guards look uncomfortable instead of amused as she reaches for his wrist. He catches her hand before she can touch him, and Tatum looks down at their grip. Her interest grows. He does not scare easily. She murmurs. He claims centuries of practice. The dangerous words slip out too quickly. Jillian spins around while Tatum goes completely still, prompting him to let go of her hand. Just a figure of speech. Reincarnation ruined his conversation skills anyway. Tatum smiles. Now she has a reason to investigate him. Just when he wins his freedom, he gets a brand new stalker. Jillian steps between them, demanding they leave. Tatum studies her bruised face, then nods once, strictly ordering Callahan that absolutely no one in this room touches them. Anyone who forgets answers to her. The gang quickly nods in agreement. He dislikes her possessive tone, but he still uses her protection to get his sister outside. Tatum follows, predicting he will choose her. He claims he just chose the exit door, but she smiles, warning him he will tire of fighting the entire world, prompting him to tell her the world should pace itself. Jillian lets out a choked laugh. A guard rushes over. The guard whispers that her family urgently needs her. They are already moving. Her playful smirk instantly vanishes. Her hand tightens around her palm mark as she looks at him once more before turning away to leave immediately with half of her guards. He knows this means real danger. Tatum usually loves threats. Whatever waits at home completely erased all her fun. Before departing, she points directly at the ransom bag in Jillian's hands, telling them to keep it. He refuses outright, stating they paid for his sister and will keep their own receipt. Tatum looks offended by the refusal. Money usually solved all her problems. She is learning the hard way that money cannot buy his compliance. She quickly offers to drive them home instead, but his sister Jillian cuts in first, pointing out that he literally just arm wrestled her for permission to leave. Tatum likes her, but Jillian begs her not to. Surprisingly, they both listen when he points to separate exits. Tatum leaves for her family crisis, while he and Jillian finally take the stairs outside. Cool air hits his empty aura channels and his legs buckle. Jillian catches his arm. She teases that he beat 9 elite fighters, but now these simple stairs are winning. She keeps hold of him, asking when he became so terrifying. He claims he simply remembered how to fight. She looks sideways. The word centuries, his first witness, is also the person least capable of Minding her own business, he promises to explain once things make sense. Jillian accepts this for barely 4 seconds before moving on. She threatens to marry him into the Royce family and simply interrogate his wife later. He just won his freedom, and she is already planning the wedding. He reminds her she literally drugged him, so she suggests skipping straight to keeping gifts. Her moral recovery is impressive, trained over many family dinners. The joking stops when she touches her split lip. He tightens his arm. He can survive the mockery, the hunger, and even a weak body. But anyone hurting his family, they just volunteered for a brutal lesson. At their gate, his knees finally buckle. Jillian catches him for the second time tonight. The soul sword inside him remains dead silent. Jillian looks sideways. Nobody survives centuries by accident, after all. Tatum's family. Crisis is still brewing somewhere behind them. He won the right to refuse. Now he needs enough power to make that answer stick. Back home that night, he sits cross-legged, rebuilding the aura he drained while beating Tatum Royce. His palms still burn from the table. His shoulder remembers losing that match's first half. Suddenly, Jillian leans through his doorway, inspecting his shredded sleeve. Did your rich girlfriend tear that off? His sister asks. Not his girlfriend, though. Jillian nods with mock seriousness. Sure, she only drugged him, saved them, claimed him publicly, and tanked a marriage audition. He won an arm wrestle, same paperwork, different table. Then Jillian asks if he needs help changing his clothes. He shuts the door in her face. Classic family support. The next morning, he heads to Granite Bay Preparatory Academy because reincarnation does not excuse high school attendance. Jasper Coleman, his ordinary school friend, rushes over and grabs his sleeve. Derek, your skin looks terrible, Jasper warns, asking if a girl pressured him. His anxious tone and gentle habits still feel alien to Derek's warrior instincts. Jasper is just being nice. He survived, Derek replies. Jasper, relieved, offering concealer because of course he did. Bethany Sutton, their shy class president, arrives with a bag of snacks, noticing that he skipped breakfast. Eat before you faint, she urges him, leaving the bag on his desk and vanishing before he can even thank her. Another girl spots the food and treats it like a direct challenge, slamming a love letter onto his desk, demanding a reply. He hasn't read it, so she grabs his collar, ordering him to read it now. He slaps her hand away and punches her flat into the adjacent desk. The classroom freezes. She rises with pure murder in her eyes. Talk about taking a rejection way too seriously. Before she can swing, Colin Royce, Tatum's younger brother, steps right between them. He is the classmate who arranged Derek's ride home the previous day. His family name makes the aggressive girl freeze instantly. Colin looks at Derek instead, asking to talk privately. Colin bows his head in the empty stairwell. I asked Tatum to drive you home, he confesses, swearing he did not know she would drug him. He found out after Derek escaped. His shame looks genuine. More importantly, the facts match his host body's memories. You made a bad choice, Derek says. She made the crime, never set him up again. Colin nods quickly. Derek accepts the apology, though trust will take longer. After class, Tatum blocks the curb with black luxury car. Losing to him made her more determined. This walking red flag opens the passenger door. Get in, Derek, she commands. No, Tatum rests her hand on the roof, threatening his parents' small business. Small businesses break easily, she warns. Derek gets in only because his family was now threatened. Then, he picks up the jeweled ornament on her dashboard and smashes it against the floor. Tatum can only stare at the pieces. Tatum calls it friendship damage, ordering the bill sent to boyfriend 35. Her mouth twitched, complaining that he kept destroying expensive things and making costly mistakes. She offered a deal, promising to help his parents' business and stop digging into his family if he agreed to be her friend. Her sketchy definition of friendship definitely needed supervision, but he accepted the temporary deal because his family needed a shield. Starting the car, Tatum asked who trained him, noting her security team had checked his background. Yesterday he was just a quiet student with no combat record, but last night he beat professional fighters. So Tatum's background check had already reached the impossible part. Looking through the windshield, he suggested her records were just lazy. Tatum smiled, suggesting he was lying, but suddenly a truck filled the windshield. The driver had crossed the median at full speed, heading straight for them. He threw himself over Tatum as twisting metal crushed the front of the car. Glass exploded across his back, the impact driving his ribs into the console. The cabin twisted around them. Tatum shoved at her door, but it had folded shut. forcing Aura into his arm. He tore the latch free, kicked the bent door into the road, and carried Tatum out. Her feet touched pavement, but his legs nearly failed. Tatum caught his waist. Before he collapsed, for once she forgot to flirt, seeing glass sticking from his shoulder. Tatum quickly tore the silk scarf from her neck, pressing it against the wound, muttering he was injured because of her. He just shrugged it off. Tatum looked at the wreck. It cost $400,000. He replied that it had an expensive last day. Her shaky laugh replaced her usual smirk. And the blood on the scarf made this danger feel extremely personal. The truck had only been the opening act. 6 armed women stepped from 2 waiting vehicles, each wearing the same black thread crest. Tatum pushed him behind her and met the first attacker with a heavy punch. He had just saved her, yet she still tried to protect him. A messy woman but consistent. 3 attackers surrounded Tatum, while another charged him with a machete, expecting an injured opponent to run. He stepped inside the blade, trapped her elbow, and drove the hilt directly into her throat, stealing her machete before she even hit the asphalt. Another attacker rushed his blind side. He reflected blinding sunlight off the steel into her eyes and sliced her sleeve, revealing the crest. Tatum noticed it, too, breaking one enemy's stance before slamming another across the hood. He used the flat blade to knock out the last woman beside her. The surviving driver tried to run, but Tatum caught the door, ripped it wide open, and dragged her out by her collar. The road went completely quiet, save for leaking coolant. Tatum looked at his bleeding shoulder, saying he shielded her. He claimed she was in the way. Tatum tightened the scarf. Tatum called him a liar, but before they could argue, her phone suddenly rang. Guard reported that her mother had collapsed during a sudden raid at the family estate, finding the exact same black thread crest left right beside her bed. Tatum's expression went cold. Ordering a cleanup, she turned toward an arriving car sent by her security team. He started walking away, telling her this was family business and she should handle it. Tatum grabbed his sleeve, her hand shaking. Her mother was attacked at the exact same moment they were. Her aunt had already seized control of the house, and if her mother died, the aunt would take the family. The matching timing, the family crest, it all proved this was a highly coordinated ambush. While one crew attacked the air, another targeted the leader. Mastermind, still completely unknown. Tatum had threatened his family barely an hour ago. Now, she stood there, right beside the smoking wreck, terrified for her mother. He stepped up. He gently pulled her hand off his sleeve, held it instead. Cultivators read meridians. They carry vital aura. Wounded fighters rarely survive the trip. Take me there, he said. I can read injuries your doctors will easily miss. She searched his face. Why help? Because your mother did not drug me. Tatum exhaled. She opened the car door. Before they left, he did something. He pressed a tiny thread of aura into her bracelet, a hidden tracker. If she faced danger, the trace would weaken, immediately alerting him. She turned her wrist up, offering a dry smile. So now you can stalk me back, she teased. Emergency use only, coward, he replied, checking his phone. That fight was just the beginning. She took him directly to the Royce estate. Guards swarmed the mansion. Inside the grand hall, armed security blocked her path. The head is resting, a guard announced. Your aunt ordered no visitors. I am her daughter, Tatum snapped. The guards simply glared at him. He cannot enter the private wing. He is male, just like that, blocked. They stopped the only person who could help, all over petty gender rules. They laughed when Tatum called him a doctor. Oh, they have no idea. He stepped forward, pointing at the first guard. Your left knee locks up. Every third step, you turn your foot to hide the pain. Right. Her smirk vanished. He turned to the next. Your right hand goes numb. You dropped your weapon twice this week. Blame the grip, correct. She instinctively hid her hand. Neither guard could deny his perfect diagnosis. Defeated, she opened the door. Suddenly, Tatum's aunt entered. The guard straightened. Her cousin walked beside her, already smiling at him with sheer arrogance. This boy is no doctor, the aunt sneered. Just Tatum's latest toy. The cousin grinned. Let me test him. If I win, he is mine tonight. Tatum clenched her fist in rage. He simply raised a single finger. Your wager, your loss. You leave with your mother. She immediately lunged. Zero warning, terrible character, even worse timing. He easily caught her wrist. Using her own rush against her, he spun and launched her across the hall. She crashed right over a couch and stayed down. The laughing guards froze. He glanced at the sprawling cousin. About that overnight deal, spend it. With some ice, he finished. Tatum burst out laughing. The aunt went pale. She rushed to her daughter, glaring at Tatum. Your mother cannot protect you. Tatum stepped between them. She won't need to, just give us 5 minutes. The aunt looked at her guards for help, but not one dared move. Humiliated, she carried her daughter out alone. They slipped into the wing. Tatum rushed straight to Manhwa Royce, her mother and the family head. The matriarch lay pale under heavy blankets, dark veins spread from her ribs. Tatum dropped to her knees, grasping her hand. All her swagger had evaporated. He stopped joking and inspected the wound. Normal medicine had closed it. But a foreign, hostile aura kept eating inward. Monica slowly opened her eyes. He waved the guards and physician away. Tatum stayed by the door while Monica studied him, asking if the Prescott family sent him. They were. The rival family most likely to hire specialists. Her suspicion fit the attack, but it proved nothing. He came with Tatum, he replied. Her wound would destroy her organs within 5 days. Tatum stopped breathing. Monica pushed the blanket aside, exposing the black mark, asking if he could remove it, partly. The rule was brutal. Foreign curse energy needed somewhere compatible to go. His old meridian path could hold it, but his mortal body might fail under the load. Monica watched his hand, asking what it would cost him. Enough to make this interesting. He placed his palm over the wound and pulled. Black energy climbed into his fingers like freezing wire. His arm locked. The room blurred. Tatum grabbed his shoulder, but he ordered her back. The mark on Monica's skin shrank. 1 inch, then another. Her breathing deepened. Color returned to her lips. Tatum pressed 2 fingers to Monica's wrist. Her eyes widened as the pulse steadied. The curse fought every inch, tightening around his wrist and pushing toward his chest. He sealed 2 meridians and dragged one final strand free. He stopped before the curse reached his heart. Monica sat upright without help. Tatum laughed once and covered her mouth. Monica offered money, property, and any favor within reason. He asked for time and ingredients instead. Tatum wrapped both arms around him. Stay tonight. We are friends, he reminded her. Monica looked at her daughter's grip and laughed. Of course, just friends. He should order invitations. There it was again. Every denial in this world apparently generated paperwork. He left before the sick room became an engagement announcement or another hostage situation outside the estate. Pain stabbed through his palm. The curse had left Monica. A black knot remained under his skin. Back in his former world, one refined elixir would dissolve it. In Granite Bay, he lacked herbs, a furnace, or any lead on spiritual medicine. Monica had 5 days when he entered that room. He bought her time and took the countdown into his own hand. The next morning, the curse in his palm sent him looking for alchemy, the craft of making medicine with aura. Granite Bay Preparatory Academy put Avery Henson, the school's star basketball player, his path first. By nightfall, 5 ugly rocks would be worth more than the luxury car that nearly killed him. First, he had to survive a girl he loved in another life. Avery was also the heir to another powerful family. She moved across the court like she owned it. In his defense, that effortless confidence of hers had ruined his focus in a past life too. Before he spent centuries cultivating, he had lived one ordinary life. Avery had been his first crush, then the first woman he ever loved. This Avery remembered none of it. She stopped mid-drill and stared at him, asking if they had met. Avery asked, maybe you have excellent instincts. Avery bounced the ball once. Or you stare too much. Both can be true. Her mouth curved. She looked curious and suspicious at the same time, a bad combination for his privacy. Avery tossed him the ball and proposed a wager. If she won, he would stop looking at her like he knew a secret. If he won, he asked. Avery planted one sneaker on the court line. You get one request. Does boyfriend fall inside the fine? Win first, worry about lawyers later. Nearby students quickly circled them. Gossip always traveled faster than Wi-Fi. Avery scored first. She was far too fast for his current body, easily shouldering him aside. The crowd roared. Avery spun the ball on her finger, mocking him, still reading. She smirked, but he had already spotted a loophole, watching her every movement on the next play. He read her hips, shoulders, and lead foot, a total dead giveaway. Just a second before she moved, he cut across the lane and brutally swatted her shot. The ball slammed the wall. Avery froze. He grabbed the rebound, crossing half court. His aura flared, lifting him 6 inches higher as he soared up to dunk the ball. He slammed it down. The rim rattled. Silence filled the gym before the crowd absolutely erupted. Jasper nearly dropped his phone. Bethany froze, leaving her bag of snacks half opened. Nearby, girls who had ignored him all year immediately began arguing over who noticed him first. Avery stared up at him from beneath the hoop, the legendary school goddess. She just lost her own court to a supposedly weak boy. What an absolute masterpiece. But this was terrible for his privacy. He tossed the ball back, requesting a dinner date. Avery stepped closer and whispered, "Get stronger first, then ask me out properly." She put off the date, challenging him to grow more powerful. Honestly, he respected that drive. Later that evening, he continued treating Monica Royce at her estate. Extracting curse energy stretched his meridians wider, which was incredibly painful. But it was highly useful. His spiritual body rebuilt itself. This allowed his true aura to return much faster, feeding off the hostile energy. Tatum silently watched his blackened palm, noting that he was getting stronger. He joked that her family had finally found a non-creepy way to stalk him. Tatum leaned against the bedpost, teasingly suggesting she could make things a lot less healthy. Monica cracked an eye open, warning the children. They both immediately backed away. Even half-cursed, she easily stopped their flirting. Respect, that dunk video reached. This incredible news quickly reached the arrogant Calvin Prescott. By the next afternoon, he waited outside with 4 guards. Convinced him Avery was already his property, he pointed, ordering the boy to stay away. He claimed Avery would marry him, speaking as if she had already signed her life away. Calvin never cared about her wishes, but she had already beaten him to the punch. The boy noted she never actually agreed. Calvin's face instantly twisted in rage. The guard aggressively grabbed his shoulder. He easily broke the grip and swept her legs. He slammed the second guard into a brick wall. The third bodyguard hesitated, completely terrified. Calvin pointed wildly, screaming to break his arm, but the boy easily dropped her. He caught Calvin's punch, twisting his arm until he knelt on the ground, warning him never to treat her like property again, or his family would suffer. Calvin desperately tried to kick from the ground. Honestly, what did he expect to happen? He slammed the guy face first into the concrete. The final remaining guard quickly backed away. Calvin's proud marriage claim ended with him kneeling helplessly outside the gym. This massive overreaction clearly proved that their proposal held far darker secrets. He asked Tatum to investigate Avery's family and this forced marriage deal. She quickly sent money to hire professionals, along with a cheeky warning. But instead of buying better clothes like she suggested, he spent every penny on the information. Pure petty efficiency. His contact was Mira Lal, a skilled freelancer. A master hacker and information broker, she had already researched the viral basketball kid. When Derek called her, Mira answered by asking if this was the handsome dunking guy. She joked that flirting cost extra and business banter required a premium fee. They met that evening at a barbecue joint, and Mira showed up wearing an oversized hoodie sporting pink hair and the sharp eyes of a hardcore gamer. She looked far too adorable for someone who sold powerful corporate secrets by the hour. Catching Derek staring, Mira playfully offered him a special discount for cute clients. A discount that actually raised his bill by 20%. The girl had jokes. Talk about a dangerous combination, Mira explained the crisis. Their entire pharmaceutical empire depended on a single secret medical refining formula. The rival Prescott family compromised it, squeezed their suppliers, then demanded a marriage. So Calvin wants both Avery and the company, Derek noted. Mira lifted her glass. Greed loves bundle deals, she agreed, before revealing secrets about these martial families. They practiced 2 forms of alchemy, standard chemicals, and aura energy refining. They refined energy through rare vessels and mineral cores, the exact key Derek needed. His cursed hand craved it. He asked for black market suppliers, and she named a price heavy enough to completely wipe out his bank account, then offered a bargain. If he bought her dinner, she would throw in those dangerous contacts. Derek agreed. Mira ordered 6 plates of pork belly, 2 sides, and a massive pitcher of beer. The waiter served Derek iced tea, suspiciously checking his age twice before walking away. In this world, women fought, led empires, and treated liver damage as leadership training. 3 drinks in, Mira finally slowed down and became surprisingly serious. She admitted a man once rejected her for being poor, then looked at Derek. Her voice shook as she asked if he liked her, or just what she knew. Derek replied that he liked how she charged him before getting emotional, very professional. Mira laughed, then collapsed onto his shoulder. He carried her to her apartment, tucked her into bed, and left some water. She had given him valuable information. Her intoxication gave him nothing. Before sleeping, Mira pointed at her unlocked computer, telling him to search but not delete her games. Derek checked the Henson records first, then the famous Griffin Reserve auction house. Finding a clear answer took him just 30 seconds. Spirit stones were extinct, and wealthy families paid insane prices. Prices for cores holding stable aura. He realized he could charge ordinary mineral cores. Using his special method, it would drain him, but money meant protecting his family. Buying the treatment ingredients Monica needed, Mira's intel had given him a clear market, so Derek went home to try and craft his own spirit stones, purchasing 5 cheap mineral cores from a construction supplier to feed his aura into them slowly. The first cracked, the second burned his fingers, and by the 5th core his vision pulsed with every single heartbeat. The final core made the dark knot in his palm recoil so hard it curled his fingers. His knees hit the hard floor as the entire room blurred. 5 glowing, charged cores sat beside his exhausted body. To recover, his body couldn't afford both. The following evening, he finished Monica's treatment, drawing the final strand of curse right out of her wound. Monica stood up, rolled her shoulders, and accidentally crushed the wooden arm of a chair. Her guards tensed immediately. Monica stared down at the splintered wood in surprise. Would good now to find the ones responsible. Monica finally had her strength back. The people who attacked her had a serious problem. Tatum caught him right outside the room and kissed him before he could dodge. She pulled back with a satisfied smile, just the first reward, and honestly, the timing was perfect. But right as she opened her mouth to promise more, a guard summoned her to an urgent family meeting. Naturally, family drama interrupted them before things could get interesting. Back home that night, he used the energy gained from Monica's curse to push his cultivation past its first barrier. The soulbound sword inside him woke, sending golden runes flashing across his skin. Aura ripped through the room, vaporizing his clothes and gathering above his palm as a narrow blade. This ancient weapon had crossed worlds to find him. Then Jillian opened the door, catching him completely naked, glowing, and holding a legendary golden weapon. Slowly, Jillian backed into the hall. He supported self-discovery, but he also supported bedroom locks. Still, this was an ancient sword. He slammed the door with his aura. Talk about an awkward awakening. He had totally lost the argument to his sister. Eventually, the heavy surge ended, leaving a small necklace resting against his chest. His spiritual body had fully awakened, and his oldest partner was finally back. The next morning, he took 5 charged mineral cores straight to the Griffin Reserve auction house. There, white-haired Ronan Griffin personally met him after a clueless clerk laughed at the ugly yellow stones in his palm. Ronan picked one up with 2 fingers, asking if he came to sell landscaping gravel. Suddenly, the core pulsed with heavy aura, and Ronan instantly stopped smiling. He stood so quickly his chair hit the wall. How many? 5, he replied. Ronan closed the office door himself, offering $1 million for all 5. Yesterday, these stones were useless junk. Today, the legendary auctioneer was guarding the door from his own staff. He was starting to like ugly objects, so he accepted. Ronan transferred the massive sum, asking for first dibs on the next batch. Where did he find them? Ronan asked. Bad question, he grinned. Ronan loved the answer. Suppliers with secrets live longer, Ronan noted, offering a private VIP entrance, direct calls, and total protection from curious buyers. Ronan had started this meeting laughing at gravel, yet ended it opening doors that regular clients waited years to touch. His first million felt incredible. More importantly, it made food, medicine, transport, and family protection finally possible. But then, an assassin waited outside the auction house. Rain had emptied the streets when the killer stepped from the shadows with a short blade, aiming straight for his throat. He expected a helpless student carrying cash, but he released the soul sword into 3 golden lines. They caught the blade before it touched his skin. As the assassin swiftly changed angles, he read the shift perfectly, slicing his wrist and driving him hard against the wall. He kicked off the bricks, launching a hidden needle directly toward his eye. He turned his soul sword flat, deflecting the needle instantly. As the killer's confidence crumbled, he had expected a frightened student, but now the golden sword blocked his exit. Who sent you? He demanded. The killer laughed through clenched teeth, muttering that Calvin Prescott said he was merely a pretty schoolboy. Calvin had clearly upgraded from hiring guards to assassins after he put him on his knees. As the assassin reached for a second weapon, he ended the fight with one clean strike. The killer slid to the pavement, dead. Derek had just made his first million. Then the Prescott family stopped sending rookies. They sent ruthless professionals who left 0 witnesses, and the first assassin already lay dead at his feet. The fight had drained his vital aura channels, the same ones containing Monica's curse. Suddenly, the black knot in his palm surged. Every single meridian burned. He hit the wall, gasping as the curse spread. It reached his shoulder before he cleared the alley. His vision pulsed darkly. The soul sword flickered wildly. Every aura channel he opened against the assassin began locking up. A normal hospital would ask why his blood carried aura. So Derek headed straight to Mira Lel's apartment instead. She opened the door. Wearing an oversized sleep shirt, her pink hair wild, until she saw his arm. She caught him before he collapsed, urgently asking what happened. He managed to whisper that the assassin lost. Mira touched his forehead. He was burning up. Then the curse surged again. Heat tore through his chest, forcing him to grab the nearest steady thing, which was Mira. He pulled her in and kissed her. She pushed him back, demanding to know if he chose this or was burning alive. He tried to speak, but his jaw locked. Mira had her answer. She sat him against the wall, gave him water, and kept her distance for a bit. Once his eyes focused, he spent the next hour forcing the curse below his elbow. It settled back into his palm, looking ugly. Mira sat right across from him. He apologized, explaining that the sudden kiss at the door was just the fever. Mira watched his face, asking how he felt now. He was clear enough to ask. He held out his hand, asking if she wanted him here. Mira said yes. She tightened her fingers around his, pulling him close to kiss him again. They spent the night together. By morning, she had stolen his pillow and his escape. The hacker negotiated aggressively, but the next morning, Derek had to go back to school because apparently fighting assassins did not excuse attendance. The curse still lingered under his skin, but his mind was clear now. Before lunch, Avery Henson appeared. He had beaten the basketball star before. Now she wanted answers. She leaned in close and smelled his collar. Her eyes narrowed, claiming he smelled like another woman, Granite Bay girls. Treated perfume like forensic evidence. He joked that soap was just complicated. Avery just hooked 2 fingers tightly around his wrist. She demanded lunch. He let her pull him out, then laced his fingers in hers. Avery's ears instantly flushed bright red, but she kept walking anyway. The school goddess could dunk on anyone, but holding hands completely broke her. At the restaurant, Derek ordered her favorite beef noodles from his past life. Avery looked at the bowl, asking how he knew. Derek just smiled. He claimed excellent instincts, but Avery frowned, calling the excuse lazy. He pointed out she still ate it. She tasted the broth, unable to hide her smile. She asked if he was watching her. Only when you are worth watching, he teased. Avery lifted her chin, telling him to keep up. Suddenly, 2 women sat behind them. Both wore heavy coats in a warm room. One kept a hand near a hidden knife. The other watched Avery's reflection. Derek quietly nudged the noodle bowl. He told her to lean left when he moved the bowl. Avery's smile faded. Before she could ask why, the first assassin lunged, drawing cold steel. He lunged for Avery. Instantly, Derek slammed a piping hot bowl of soup right into her face, blinding her before she could strike. Suddenly, a second assassin charged from his right. He shoved Avery behind him, taking the cold blade right across his ribs. Fresh blood soaked through his shirt. Grabbing the attacker's wrist, he drove it straight into the table. Next, he kicked the first assassin into the wall before she could wipe her eyes. The woman scrambled for another weapon. Derek launched a heavy chair straight into her knees, dropping her instantly. Suddenly, the second assassin broke free. Lunging toward Avery again, big mistake. Derek caught her by the elbow, twisting her arm flat and burying her face into an untouched plate of food. Both killers lay motionless. Avery stared down at them, her hands covered in his blood. She pressed a napkin against his ribs as the ambient noise slowly crept back in. "Who are you?" Avery demanded. Derek looked at her. "Just someone keeping you alive." She pressed harder on his wound. "Derek, I do not belong to some local Marshall family." He told her he could not explain everything just yet. She pressed even harder. "You ordered my favorite food and saw those killers coming. You took a blade for me." He smiled, saying he felt like he had known her forever. Avery froze. He whispered that he would take a bullet for her. Today was just a knife. Instantly, she dragged him into a private booth and locked the door behind them. "The Prescott family stole the medicine formula that keeps my family alive," she said. "Now they are choking our supply and forcing a marriage to fix it." Calvin's aggressive speech was just part of their takeover. Avery placed her hand over his. "If the business crumbles, my family will force this wedding." Derek squeezed her hand, asking for the exact ingredients and effects their medical formula required. Avery stared. He promised he could replace it and build something even better. The Prescotts were hiring assassins now. Granite Bay was heading toward war. Hidden families would soon choose sides. Suddenly, the aura thread connected to Tatum's bracelet went freezing cold. He had placed that tracking spell. With her permission after the road ambush, it only faded during extreme danger. Derek stood up so fast the table shook. Avery grabbed his sleeve, asking what happened. Tatum is in trouble, he replied. A flash of jealousy crossed Avery's face. But seeing his blood, she let go. Go, she said, and bring back answers. He called Mira before reaching the street. She picked up, mocking him for leaving 6 hours ago and already needing a hacker. He told her to track Tatum's phone. She located it on the West Highway, moving fast inside a suspicious cargo van. He needed to intercept it. Derek dialed Ronan Griffin, the auctioneer who bought his stones for $1 million. He needed a quick ride. Ronan instantly asked how illegal this favor would be. Kidnappers, Derek replied. Ronan shut down his auction house before he could finish the dress. His sleek Lamborghini roared up to the curb just minutes later. You have to understand how crazy Ronan drove. Most people baby their supercar. But Ronan treated his Lamborghini like a leather-padded battering ram. He flung the door open, telling him not to bleed on the expensive leather. Drive faster and I won't, Derek replied. Ronan grinned and floored the gas. Mira tracked the target, guiding them with a moving pin. Ronan sliced through traffic, ripping down the shoulder to pull right alongside the van before they even noticed. Which part can I hit? Ronan yelled. Derek pointed at the van, the ugly part. With the chaos finally over, he braced against the dashboard. Perfect, Ronan clipped the van's rear wheel, forcing it sideways and pinning it against a concrete barrier. The Lamborghini lost a mirror, but Ronan didn't even look. He jumped out before the car stopped moving. 3 armed women spilled from the van and opened fire. The soul sword split into golden lines, sparking the bullets away. He crossed the distance, ending all 3 before they could fire another volley. Ronan stepped out from behind the engine block, his racing smile completely gone. He tore open the van door. Tatum lay bound inside, unconscious with a nasty bruise across her temple. As he reached for her, an aura beam struck the roof, engulfing the van. Flames, he pulled back as 2 men in ceremonial mountain coats dropped from the overpass. Aura rolled from their sleeves, and their matching blades carried the same hostile pressure as Monica's curse. The older brother aimed at him. Your talent is wasted here. Join our mountain sect and hand over the Royce woman and we'll forgive the hired muscle. He pointed at the burning van. You set my girlfriend's van on fire and opened with recruitment. Tatum was still inside. He had no time for their egos. The younger brother smiled, saying a man should feel honored. He raised the soul sword. Move, or your sales team loses 2 members. The older brother attacked first. He expected his aura-coated blade to break his. He read the weak point near the guard, meeting it with the soul sword's edge. His weapon snapped, and his second cut took the arm holding it. He hit the road screaming. His sneer vanished. The younger brother launched a wider strike toward the burning van, using Tatum to force his guard open. He put the soul sword against the wounded brother's throat, pressing the blade closer. Drop it, he warned. The younger brother looked at the blade, then the van. He attacked anyway. He shoved the wounded man out of the strike's path. Younger brother diverted his aura at the last instant, exactly as he expected. That hesitation opened his guard. He crossed inside the enemy's range, breaking his stance with a quick kick, placing the golden blade under his jaw. His weapon hit the road. Ronan ran to the van with a fire extinguisher while he cut Tatum's restraints, carrying her out through the rear door as the roof folded inward. The brothers stayed down. One had lost an arm, the other had lost the argument. Tatum woke against his chest several yards from the fire. She coughed once, opened her eyes and said his name. You're safe, he told her. Tatum gripped his shirt and checked his face as if she needed proof. Then she saw the mountain coats. Tatum caught the edge of one coat. I heard them before they knocked me out, she explained. The Prescotts paid the van crew, and a hidden sect was supposed to collect me. Families tied to the auction may join them. This is becoming a city war. Tatum touched the blood at his ribs. You got stabbed too, he told her. Avery's lunch had pretty poor service. Her eyes sharpened at Avery's name. Good. Tatum was breathing well enough to be jealous. She pulled him down and kissed him. My lucky star, Tatum whispered. You're coming to the family meeting. Rescue invoices were definitely getting creative. After Tatum declared a family war, she called Monica from the road. The Prescotts hired a sect to convene the family. Then She took him straight to the Royce estate. Monica Royce sat at the head of the table, fully recovered and very interested in the men who had abducted. Her daughter, Tatum, stood right at his side. The relatives watched him like a pretty security risk. One aunt pointed at the door, claiming the meeting was family only. An outsider has no place here. He simply told her he only came for business. They could keep their family drama. He placed a fresh spirit stone on the table. It released a single steady pulse, which every fighter in the room felt. Monica leaned forward. The aunt who wanted him out stopped pointing and made an announcement. She wanted to buy it, but he left the stone there, saying no. Her face tightened. She demanded his price. He tapped the table, proposing supply terms through Griffin Reserve. They would handle the auction, giving the Royces priority access and protective gear. Even combat pills boosting strength by 30%. The aunt stared at him. She argued that as Tatum's friend, he owed them first rights. He matched her cold stare. Friendship keeps Tatum alive. Demanding ownership gets them nothing. Monica tapped the table, asking what he wanted. He requested materials and full market value payment with a family discount, without any outside interference on who else he sold to. The stone pulsed again as the aunt quietly asked how soon he could deliver. Just 5 minutes earlier, this same aunt had pointed him toward the door, but now she wanted his delivery schedule. Monica pulled up a chair beside Tatum and ordered tea served to him first. Outside, Tatum stopped right beneath the front steps, admitting she only started chasing him because losing annoyed her, but now she trusted him with her mother and her life. He touched the bracelet, prioritizing trust while reminding her about consent. Tatum rolled her eyes, calling him bossy. He tapped the jade, keeping her alive as she touched his trace, asking what he wanted from all this. He looked back at the family, asking for stones, protection, and power. He wanted enough leverage so nobody would ever threaten his family again. The Royces had officially become his first wartime customers. His stones, pills, and protection could easily build an empire, and that value would attract every powerful family in Granite Bay. Meanwhile, back home, his own relatives were already waiting to explain why they believed he belonged to them. While the Royces had just asked for his prices, Aunt Marlene Callahan was already pricing him. She represented the old money Callahan family his mother had left behind, sitting at their dining table in a tailored suit while his father, Peter Callahan, poured tea she never even touched. His mother, Diane Callahan, sat beside him. Aunt Marlene looked around, asking if Diane really chose this life. Diane set her cup down, stating she chose Peter. Aunt Marlene tapped his old college ring, asking if he still needed Diane to rescue his every week business decision. She then offered to have a driver take him somewhere less embarrassing. While the family discussed him, Peter stayed seated. Diane's stare could have cut glass. Aunt Marlene told him he never finished the right schools and his business instincts were weak. Their family had spent years covering for Diane's mistake. Peter's hands tightened around the teapot, holding back. Aunt Marlene then turned to him, stating a suitable family wanted a husband. He would accept the match, move into their home, and stop embarrassing his mother's bloodline. He flatly declined, making her eyebrows rise. "You are 18. She warned, calling his preference a courtesy and threatening his parents' business, their home and Peter's very place beside his mother. She called it family discipline. Nobody believed her. Aunt Marlene slid a number across the table, saying this was what her cooperation was worth. She pushed the paper back, asking if that bought her future, then asked what one of her legs cost. Peter looked alarmed, while Diane looked tired. Aunt Marlene looked deeply offended that she had even answered. She stood up, warning that the Callahan family would teach her respect. She opened the door, told her to bring a better teacher. After she left, Peter apologized for being the reason they were mocked. She took the teapot from his hands, telling him he was why this house felt like a home and that nobody gets to make him feel ashamed. Then she called Tatum. She told her that Aunt Marlene had threatened her family, needing the pressure stopped. The walking red flag went quiet, asking how firmly. She told her to scare Marlene away from the house, ending the call before her imagination could turn into a felony. The next afternoon, Diane got a message from the Callahan family. Aunt Marlene had survived an attack but lost one leg and one kidney. She called Tatum immediately, demanding to know what she had done. Tatum answered from a moving car, saying the woman would never threaten her father. She argued that she asked for fear, not surgery. Tatum replied that she had mentioned the price of a leg. She snapped that it was an insult. Tatum paused. It was highly specific. She had only asked to stop one threat, but Tatum heard a blank Check, she banned her from treating her anger as an order. Tatum agreed without sounding truly sorry. Dan read the family message twice, warning that they would assume someone in their house did it, since Marlene had just threatened them. Peter looked toward the front windows. Tatum had removed one threat but painted a massive target over their address. Peter kept checking outside, so she went upstairs, spent part of Ronan's million on Jade, and turned her bedroom into a workshop. The next protection would answer directly to her. A ward pendant had one job: when danger reached the wearer, the carved sword would form a shield and send her an alert. Predictably, things quickly went south. One piece cracked and another shot straight into her wall. The next came out black, crooked, and shaped like a sword that had lost a bar fight. She kept it, trusting ugly, lucky items to bring her money. The fourth pendant actually held its tiny sword mark flashing when she pressed aura against it. The shield lasted just one breath, enough to stop a lethal blow, though crafting it emptied her hands and left her vision trembling. By the sixth carving, her fingertips had split open. The soul sword necklace heated up against her chest as her body neared its absolute limit. She had planned 10, but her mortal frame voted against the budget. At dinner, she gave the first working pendants to Peter, Diane, and Jillian. Her father turned the jade piece over carefully, noting it looked expensive. She told him it was a temple charm. Peter put his on. Immediately, Diane read her face, then fastened hers safely beneath her blouse. Without arguing, Jillian held her pendant against her shirt, asking if her rich sister-in-law knew she was buying jewelry for other women. She told Jillian that she was not her sister-in-law. Jillian snorted, saying her paperwork must be late. Apparently, every Just Friends claim in Granite Bay summoned a marriage contract clerk. She explained that the pendants would protect them against one serious attack. Peter's face completely fell when he realized she made them because Aunt Marlene knew their dress. He reached across the table and warmly squeezed her hand. The next morning, exhaustion from crafting forces Derek's head onto his desk. Suddenly, his teacher drops a marker. She snaps that if he is too gifted to stay awake, he can solve the problem on the board. The massive equation covers half the wall, but his host body remembers the method from months of tutoring, so Derek finishes it in 4 quick lines. His teacher checks twice. 2 students quickly erase their answers without looking up. Then she asks if he wants to be class representative. Apparently, solving one math problem earns him unpaid management duties. During the next class, a half-finished ward beneath his desk suddenly pops. Smoke rolls right out of his sleeve, and Jasper Coleman, his regular school buddy, stares in disbelief at the tiny, charred sword in Derek's hand. Is that safe? Jasper whispers. Derek turns the charred sword over, still intact. Jasper frowns, saying that is not an answer. Derek hands it over. Keep it. The shield takes the absolute ugliest gift in school history and quietly tucks it safe inside his shirt. Next, he pulls out a viral basketball clip. Derek's epic dunk against Avery has gone wild across Granite Bay Prep, and the sports department wants him on the team. Believe it or not, Jasper already signed Derek up to play. Derek just stares. You volunteered me, he asks. Jasper quickly raises both hands, claiming he just believed in him aggressively. The footage shifts to the bleachers where the old Derek sat lonely after those ugly rumors. Fine. Derek hands it back, agreeing to play. Right then, Olivia Chandler, his stunning childhood classmate and a rapidly rising starlet, arrives fresh from a recording session in fitted black clothes and sunglasses indoors. Half the hallway immediately parts. Derek notices that reincarnation definitely didn't cure bad eyesight. Olivia pinches his cheek, calling him the famous dunk star and demanding he attend the class reunion. Rubbing his cheek, Derek notes in his defense he was only famous for 12 hours before she hunted him down. Olivia grins, teasing that Avery likes him. She has excellent instincts, he replies. Olivia points at him, warning she also has eyes, so try surviving both. She leaves after making him promise to attend. Jasper watches her walk off like his very soul just missed the bus. He confesses he has liked her for years, begging Derek to get him an autograph. Derek stares. He wants real romance, and his big opening move is asking for merch. Jasper shrugs, saying he panicked strategically. Derek promises to ask, making Jasper almost hug him. Remembers his dignity, then hugs him anyway. Afterward, shy Bethany Sutton, the quiet class president, tries to hide a tough homework assignment. Derek slides her pencil back 2 lines to show her a shortcut. Relief instantly replaces her embarrassment. Since she had fed and defended him without expecting anything, Derek decides to hand her one of His purest jade pendants. Bethany pushes it back, protesting that this is far too valuable. He slides it right back, telling her to keep it because protecting her matters more than money. Bethy's ears turn pink. You say that on purpose, she whispers. He smiles only when they work. Clutching the jade, she looks up at him, then gazes down at her new tiny talisman to whisper her thanks. Later that evening at the Grand Royce State, Derek brings another protective pendant to Tatum, since getting kidnapped seems to be her favorite hobby. Tatum holds the jade to her neck, teasing if he always gifts jewelry this fast. After rescue kisses, Derek taps the stone, insisting it is armor. Tatum smiles, calling it romantic. Armor. Derek asks a guard to fire a practice bolt. The heavy projectile flies across the room. Suddenly, a brilliant golden barrier flares around Tatum, dropping the bolt harmlessly to the floor. A guard bends to inspect the bolt, while another asks if he can craft 6. She touched the shield as it faded, then shoved him backward onto her bed. Tatum sniffed his collar, her suspicion rising as she got another scent. Another woman had his attention today. His love life was basically a crime lab now. He explained that he only gives protection to the people he cares about. When she demanded to know how many women, Derek joked he needed snacks first. Tatum warned him to stop collecting girlfriends, but he just tapped her ward pendant. That pendant was his way of ensuring she survived, whatever competition came next. Tatum tried to hide her smile but failed. Derek left before things got emotional. Later that evening, he stopped by Mira's apartment to check on her. He found her fast asleep, right beside 3 glowing computer screens. She twisted under her blanket, whispering a plea for him not to leave. Her nightmare revealed her deepest insecurities. Derek woke her gently from the dream. She grabbed his shirt. He gently told her nightmares do not count. With her grip loosening, he placed a protective ward around her neck and kissed her. She clutched the green jade until he left. Later that night, his mother Diane arrived. Diane picked him up outside because she happened to be in the area. Diane took one breath inside the car and immediately looked at his jacket. Warning him that his father notices perfume, she cracked the window and lit a cigarette. She blew smoke across his collar to mask the scent before they reached home. Suddenly, a text from Ronan arrived. A Royce relative had sold a ward pendant. The sale price was $1.2 million. Derek met him soon after. Ronan Griffin laughed at the price, claiming the buyer got a total steal. With the right billionaire, that pendant could easily bring in $10 million. Even the ugly prototype would sell, since rich buyers love things with a history. Over drinks, Ronan explained how his mother's family had completely isolated him. They only cared about his massive inheritance and never bothered to know him. He had endless wealth, but absolutely nowhere that felt like a real home. Derek shared his own struggles with Aunt Marlene and her forced marriage schemes. Ronan poured another round and advised him to build power until they had to ask. The 2 men toasted. Derek realized his wealthy buyer had actually become a friend. But friendship has limits. Alcohol still hit him like a truck. He stumbled home drunk and opened the wrong bedroom door by mistake. A bob-haired woman grabbed his arm and the bedroom lights snapped on. Jillian stood there holding a laundry basket as he jumped back in shock. Derek hit the wall hard enough to sober up instantly under her stare. Jillian teased him about having multiple girlfriends, but flirting with the laundry girl. He begged her to forget it, but she threatened to tell everyone. She joked she would bring it up at his future wedding. Lesson learned, alcohol never got another vote in his life. And you just know this reunion is going to be pure chaos. On reunion day, Derek walked into a luxury store with his new wealth. He remembered wearing the same worn-out uniform while classmates mocked his poverty. A brand new fitted suit was first, followed by a trip to the car dealership. When the clerk asked who would approve the purchase, he paid instantly. At the dealership, the salesperson immediately directed him to the passenger seat. Derek skipped the color chart. He demanded the keys instead. Money changed everything. The clerk's posture shifted instantly. Soon, he was carrying Derek's bags. The dealer handed over the keys. Status speaks. It was just easier. No more lectures. That night, he drove straight to the reunion. Bryce Baxter, the ruthless school bully who ruined Derek's past, was waiting outside. He had painted Derek as creepy, turning everyone against his gestures. Classmates avoided him. Bryce laughed. Then a nasty rumor started spreading. Soon, Derek ate alone. Then, the group invitations stopped entirely. Bryce used that cruel silence as proof. Now, he stood waiting outside. He wore an expensive jacket, greeting arrivals to show off success. Bryce spotted the luxury car and stared hard. He assumed it was borrowed. A classmate laughed, telling Bryce to pay up since he lost the bet. Bryce had promised to buy everyone lunch if Derek arrived looking decent. Derek calmly adjusted his cuff. Start Monday, free food for a week. Phones came out immediately. Group chats buzzed as orders started flowing. Someone pinned Bryce's actual bet to the top of the chat. Others listed expensive restaurants, while Bryce tried to laugh it off. Nobody let him back out. Soon, everyone was planning Monday's feast. Bryce's fake smile twitched. Desperate, he tried to salvage his pride. He organized a basketball team, but Avery Henson arrived just in time. She stood beside Derek, noticing Bryce had left his name off the roster. Avery crossed her arms, demanding Derek play. Bryce sneered, claiming he would quit. Derek looked at Avery, offering to join the team for a single kiss. The crowd went wild. Avery stepped close, telling him to win first. Derek mentioned interest. Avery tapped his chest, calling him greedy. He joined the team, ordered dessert for everyone, and sat beside Avery. Just then, Olivia Chandler walked in late, fresh from her recording job. Olivia was Derek's childhood friend and a rising star, wearing a black dress. The entire room turned to stare. Honestly, nobody could blame them. Bryce rushed to the piano, eager to play before she reached the table. He watched her over the keys, but Olivia walked straight past him. She stopped right in front of Derek, asking him to dance. Bryce faltered. Derek stood up, but Avery grabbed his sleeve, questioning his behavior. Derek leaned in, teasingly asking if she was feeling jealous. Avery tightened her grip, claiming she was just monitoring quality control. Olivia smiled, promising to return him safely. Avery finally let go. It was absolute payback. Olivia led Derek straight to the center of the floor. They danced gracefully, Olivia moving with the ease of a seasoned star. Derek somehow kept up, looking surprisingly coordinated beside her. All eyes drifted away from Bryce's piano, chairs turning toward the couple. One guest even walked away from the keys to ask for a photo. Right in the middle of his song, a humiliated Bryce stopped playing. The room went dead silent. Bryce stood up, pointing angrily at Derek. He accused Derek of using fake money to steal everyone's attention. Derek calmly returned to his seat, telling Bryce that silence actually helped. Bryce's face reddened, apologized, kneel, and maybe he would let him stay. There it was. Bryce spent years pushing the old Derek out of rooms, and now he needed this exact same room just to watch it happen all over again. Neil stared. Neil nodded toward the piano. Your music is awful. Your fingers should just resign. Bryce slammed the piano lid, telling Neil to play something better. The bully doubled down with witnesses all around, but Neil simply stood beside the table, whistling. Neil whistled. The first note sliced through the room, and the second pulled. Every single conversation turned toward him. He whistled an ancient melody from legendary sword halls. A song for an entering master, requiring perfect aura control. Olivia stopped smiling, listening to those lost centuries. Avery slowly lowered her glass, and even the server by the door stood completely frozen, listening. Bryce tried to interrupt with a loud chord, but Neil's sharp whistle completely drowned it out. When he finished, nobody looked at Bryce. Olivia asked where Neil learned that melody. Avery stared, recognizing the same look from when his power surfaced. Classmates turned their phones, filming Neil instead. Bryce had lost the entire room before Neil even laid a single finger on him. Bryce grabbed his shoulder, demanding if some simple trick made Neil better. Neil picked up a dessert knife. With one quick flick, he sent a thread of sharp aura slicing across Bryce's hair. A clean lock fell onto the piano. Bryce froze, touching his uncut skin. His hand began to shake. Neil quietly placed the knife down. Leave, Neil told him, or your hands can stay. This room has suffered enough from you. Olivia hid a smirk while Avery laughed openly. The nearby classmates stepped back. Nobody defended him. The boy who once controlled Derek stood completely abandoned. Bryce walked out utterly alone, still desperately arguing to a room that completely ignored him. The party quickly resumed. Avery moved beside Neil and gently touched his collar. She felt the hidden soul sword necklace, instantly noting that Neil got more mysterious every single day. Neil covered it, whispering she would learn eventually. When she pressed, only when telling you keeps you safer than hiding it, Neil answered. Avery studied him, then playfully stole his dessert, claiming she was charging interest. Seeking quiet, Neil visited Mira, but found her father there instead. The man was gripping Mira's arm so incredibly hard, it was already leaving dark purple bruises. He brought his massive gambling debt to her apartment, demanding she pay every single cent. Mira struggled against his tight grip, crying out that she did not have the cash. He twisted harder, growling that he raised her and her income belonged to him. Shoving the debt notice in her face, he demanded she take it from her rich clients. He added that a wealthy man would clear the debt if she married him. He had already sent her photos and age, boasting the buyer liked her look. Mira went completely pale as a dark, painful bruise began forming under her father's fingers. The father eyed Neil's expensive suit, then greedily glanced at the car keys in his hand. Pay $3 million, he sneered, and he would leave her alone. Neil stepped in. Neil forced his hand off her arm. The greedy father eyed Neil's watch. The father smiled greedily, raising his demand to $5 million right on the spot. You get $5 million only after signing away all parental claims, Neil countered. The man laughed, saying she was his daughter. Neil slid a contract forward. You treated her like collateral, now you are selling her. Neil placed the contract page down. No visits, calls, middlemen, or financial claims. Then Derek quickly texted Ronan. He deeded $5 million right away, promising a repayment. Ronan replied before Mira's father finished reading, telling him to send the details. The father saw the confirmation and grabbed the pen. He signed. Only then did Ronan release the cash. Mira's father checked his balance twice. Seeing the numbers made him brave again. Mira's father sneered, calling Derek a weak man playing with women's money who couldn't keep him away. Forever, Derek simply raised his hand. The golden soul sword instantly materialized above the table. Gold, it sliced the chair beside the father into 4 clean pieces without touching his coat. The man stopped breathing. Derek coldly reminded him that the agreement bought him a safe exit, warning him to use it. Mira's father grabbed the money and left without ever looking back. He had entered holding his daughter but left as a paid stranger. With absolutely no right to return, Mira stood motionless until the door closed. Then she buried her face against Derek's chest and sobbed. He held her close until she could breathe easily again. Looking up, Mira gently kissed him and softly whispered, "Thank you for choosing me." The next morning, Derek woke to the scent of burnt eggs and industrial cleaning spray. Mira had put on an apron, frantically scrubbed the apartment, and arranged breakfast with nervous precision. Between quick glances at Derek's plate, she anxiously checked that his bag was still by the couch, watching him taste the eggs, asking if they were good. He joked they were dangerous. Mira's shoulders dropped. He put the fork down, took her hand, and said he paid for her freedom, so she should use it and be herself. Mira looked at the smoke over the pan. Mira ordered breakfast instead. Raising his glass, Derek praised her recovery and thanked Ronan by text. He replied, $5 million, one dinner, and no bleeding in the Lamborghini next time. Derek owed him $5 million and the guy was still joking. A good friend, but a costly morning. By lunch, Avery was waiting at school for the refining formula Derek had promised. He handed her a single page containing the old world method rebuilt around the Henson medicine's purpose. Avery quickly read the first lines. Her breathing hitched when she found the exact step the Prescotts had stolen. Avery whispered that this could keep her family's medicine line alive. Looking up, she asked if he was giving her this without contract. He nodded. Avery folded the page carefully, asking what if she betrayed him. Derek answered he simply misjudged her. Avery held the formula against her chest, asking if he trusted her that much. He replied that he trusted her before she knew him. Avery stepped onto the center of the court, where everyone could see. She loudly announced her love for Derek, then kissed him. A basketball suddenly flew toward Derek's head from the jealous side of the gym. Avery caught it one-handed. Without ever breaking the kiss, she spun and threw the ball back hard enough to knock the attacker flat onto the bleachers. Then she ordered the entire group to run laps. Public affection in Granite Bay apparently required crowd control. By dinner, phone video of Avery catching the ball mid-kiss had reached Diane. At home, Derek's mother turned the phone toward him and asked how many women believed they were marrying him. Derek sat down, joking he was still collecting accurate numbers. Diane almost smiled. Then she placed Aunt Marlene's family seal on the table. His mother is Madame Callahan, Diane revealed to him. She heads the National Callahan family. Peter stayed beside her, quiet and tense, while Diane explained that she left her family to marry him. The Callahans cut support, mocking Peter at every gathering, keeping his future marriage locked inside their family plans. They never accepted her choice, still believing they could arrange his as the price of keeping Diane protected. Aunt Marlene was a warning, his mother said. They would send someone stronger next. He touched the seal, wondering how to stop them. Diane told him to enter Union National University. The school carried enough national status that even Madame Callahan would avoid attacking one of its students openly. Admission would turn him from a family asset into a public investment. Diane held his gaze, saying if he gets in, her family must negotiate. He closed his hand around the seal, promising to get in. Union National University was supposed to be his escape route. First, he had to survive the auction. The woman who saw his target and the one weapon his aura could not stop, Union National University, could protect him from the Callahans. First, he needed his soulbound sword to stop trying to tear his current body apart. That night, in his bedroom, he fed aura into a thumb-sized practice blade. Gold spread across the metal. The edge sharpened, the floor cracked, and his wrists started shaking. 3 centuries of cultivation had 5 broad stages. His problem was much simpler. The sword needed a vessel strong enough to hold it. His 18-year-old body could not hold that pressure. He meant to rest for 10 minutes, but Ronan Griffin called 2 hours later and nearly ruptured his other ear. Please tell me you are already at the auction, Ronan demanded. He looked at the sunlight across his floor. I am spiritually present, asleep. Yes, Ronan hung up. He used some expensive words about his judgment. Honestly, missing his own $1 million auction was a new personal low. 40 minutes later, he reached Griffin Reserve auction house wearing the first clean jacket he found. The vessel he needed might already be on the floor, so he had no time to dress better. A wealthy couple blocked the private entrance before he reached Ronan. The woman looked over his plain jacket and auction badge. Her husband looked at him with the careful pity men there used when another man embarrassed himself publicly. This entrance is for invited buyers, the woman told him. The pretty guest line is below. He tapped the badge, telling them to read it first. Her husband pinched the badge, trying to peel it from his jacket. Counterfeits go downstairs too. He took the badge back, but the woman reached for his face. Someone should teach him manners. He caught her wrist, turned once, and snapped her arm across his shoulder. She screamed while her husband dropped his bidding folder. Security rushed over. The woman pointed at him with her good hand, demanding that they remove him. Ronan arrived before the guards could choose a side. He looked at her arm, then at his badge. You attacked my supplier, Ronan said. Her voice changed immediately, pleading ignorance. She didn't know, but Ronan noted they saw a cheap jacket and put their hands on his supplier, cutting her off. He took her bidding paddle and handed it to security, banning both of them. The surrounding guests stopped staring at his jacket and started checking his badge. The husband apologized while security escorted them out. His wife kept threatening lawsuits until the elevator doors closed. An attendant who had ignored him earlier opened the private rope, offering the best lounge seat. 2 buyers asked Ronan, wondering if his next spirit stones were finally available. A woman who had mocked his jacket offered him champagne, but he chose water. His reputation was growing faster than his wardrobe. She had called him too low status for the door, but security quickly dragged her right out, beautifully efficient. Ronan pulled him into his office, asking if he could survive one event without breaking a client. Could that client stop volunteering? Ronan sighed. Fair. Then he got serious. Someone had investigated Aunt Marlene's lost leg and kidney. The questions had reached his mother, the Callahan family, and Tatum's people. His staff kept hearing one name repeated. Ronan warned Madame Callahan was looking toward Granite Bay. He needed Union National University before Madame Callahan reached the city. Ronan opened the door as Aunt Marlene passed by. In a wheelchair with the auction crowd, she saw Tatum Royce approaching from the other hallway, continuing on without a single word. Just then, Tatum entered wearing dark dress and a dangerous amount of confidence. In his defense, that dress had declared war on concentration. This walking red flag crossed the office, jumped directly into his arms, wrapping her legs tightly around his waist, while Ronan stared at the ceiling, muttering that he was charging both of them. Tatum kissed his cheek. She said to charge Derek's supplier account. He already owed $5 million, he countered. And Tatum was about to add a room fee. She dragged him into a private lounge before Ronan could answer. Milk tea waited on the table for him, while wine waited for her. He inspected the cup. Tatum raised an eyebrow, noting his history made drinks suspicious. She told him to drink water, then sat beside him, describing several outfits she had considered buying specifically for their next highly anticipated private meeting. Her own Descriptions were suggestive enough to make that sealed milk tea sound harmless. Tatum caught him staring. Talk about being caught red-handed, he claimed he was. Weapons, meeting her gaze, he answered that he found several right before she kissed him. Finished his inspection, Ronan opened the door, carrying the auction catalog. Seeing Tatum sitting in his lap, Ronan instantly backed out and closed the door. He called through the wood, promising to return when their meeting became legal. Tatum laughed against his mouth. He gently moved her aside and opened the door, saying the ugly object first, then the scandal. Ronan flipped past. A meteor fragment which could wait. The prestige lot was sealed ancient wine. He ignored the bottle and touched the photograph of the stained bronze pot. Holding it, faint aura lines ran directly under the corrosion. The wine was valuable, he told Ronan, but that special vessel could easily hold his sword and refine medicine. Ronan stopped. Turning pages, his experts had priced the bottle, treating the real treasure as packaging. Ugly objects kept making him rich, and he respected that consistency. The lot already belonged to Marshall buyers, Ronan warned. Find that buyer, he ordered, then build the alliance. Stones, wards, medicine. For protected clients were past simple, one-time sales. Ronan closed the catalog. Called his security chief before he left, ensuring guarded access for all associates and a direct line for his family. The auction house now shielded those clients and his family alongside the stones. Late that night, his route home was blocked. The buyers had stopped behind a barricade. His target stood right there in the road. Oh boy, 6 Marshall. 6 battered family fighters surround a woman wearing a striking purple field robe. She holds up a federal badge for everyone to see and introduces herself. She introduces herself as Gwen Kendall, a federal marshal from the Oversight Bureau. She claims the bronze vessel for the government, but one fighter immediately attacks. Gwen easily catches the punch, breaks her stance, and drops her with one strike. The remaining 5 move in together, but Gwen sweeps through them effortlessly. With zero wasted motion, she folds one guard and cracks the concrete with another. Near a fallen woman's head, the last fighter tries reaching for the transport. Gwen tosses her right across the hood before loading up the bronze vessel. She packs the ancient wine away, while Derek watches from behind a concrete barrier. He measures her breathing, but Gwen suddenly snaps her head toward him. She commands him to step out, and Derek obeys, openly demanding the vessel. But before Derek can even finish, Gwen charges and shatters his first aura shield. He summons his soulbound golden sword to block her devastating second strike. Gwen locks her eyes on the weapon instead of his face. Calling it an unregistered technique, she sweeps low while Derek leaps to strike. He aims for her shoulder, leaving a hidden sword thread embedded in the asphalt. Gwen easily blocks his blade and smashes Derek backward right through the barricade. She expected a weak local, and he expected an officer who actually asked questions. They are both disappointed, and Gwen immediately accelerates. Her next 3 strikes press his golden soul sword dangerously close to his chest. Derek predicts the 4th blow, twists her wrist, and slices her purple sleeve. Suddenly, a compact pistol with a green federal seal appears in her hand. Despite looking normal, Gwen fires, and get this, the bullet completely shatters his shield. The round pierces straight through all his aura barriers and rips into his side. He crashes hard onto the road as his golden blade completely vanishes. He clutches his bleeding wound, but his healing aura is instantly snuffed out. Gwen slowly walks over, coldly mentioning that the bullet stops all martial healing. She tells him he should have stayed hidden, while intense pain blinds him. Staring at the blood, Derek tugs on the hidden sword thread behind her. The delayed golden strike erupts from the pavement, piercing right through her defense. Gwen instantly freezes, her pistol dropping as she stumbles toward the light. She collapses heavily beside the barricade after easily defeating 6 elite fighters. She shattered his ultimate defenses, but completely forgot to check behind her. That single mistake cost her life. Derek slowly forces himself upright. He grabs Gwen's keys to unlock the vehicle, holding the precious ancient treasure. Using his one good arm, he pulls out both the vessel and the wine. The cold bronze steadies his fading aura, and the prize is finally his. But the heavy bleeding continues, and any normal hospital would report this immediately. They would trace the dead federal envoy, so he wraps up his loot. Derek drives straight to Mira's apartment, where she gasps at the blood. She catches the falling vessel and frantically demands to know who shot him. He weakly mutters that it was a federal agent, making things even worse. Derek collapses to the floor as Mira desperately tries to heal the wound. Nothing works, forcing her to call Tatum, an expert in martial weapons. Tatum arrives and Mira holds the door with a blood-slick hand, shoving a key over. She presses the spare key into Tatum's palm, warning her that this is for emergencies only. Because he does not bleed on schedule, Tatum pockets the key and kneels beside him. Her face completely pales when she sees the wound, realizing it is a deadly null round. It has to come out right now. Derek grips the table edge and tells her to do it. Tatum cuts deep while Mira holds his shoulders, the metal bullet lodged tight against his rib. Every movement sends a cold, sickening pain through his chest as Tatum works in grim silence. Mira keeps him conscious until the metal bullet finally clinks onto the metal tray. Instantly, his powerful aura floods back, the bleeding slows and the torn flesh begins to close. Tatum stares blankly at the round, while Mira watches his skin knit itself back together. He survived, but get ready, because the real relationship drama is about to explode. Tatum turns sharply on Mira, demanding to know why he came to her apartment of all places. Mira simply replies that she opened the door, prompting Tatum to glare at Derek. She accuses him of choosing Mira while dying, but he just wanted to avoid a federal hospital. When she asks if he has ever slept there before, his honest answer is yes. Tatum commands him to end things with Mira, but he sits straight up and refuses. He warns Tatum that if she ever tells him to dump Mira again, they are finished. She can decide whether to stay, but she does not get to dictate his other relationships. Tatum's fury freezes into a quiet, icy chill, but she ultimately chooses to stay. While Mira comforts him, Derek explains how Gwen Kendall seized the vessel and attacked first. She fired the null round first, but she lost her life in the ensuing brutal clash. Tatum compares Gwen's torn purple sleeve to the green sealed round, noting green outranks purple. The next investigator sent their way will be far more dangerous and powerful. When Mira asks how they will track him down, Tatum taps the wooden table. Roadblocks, clinics, and black market medicine, every path leads straight back to him. Derek peels off his bloody bandages, revealing a wound already fading to a thin line. Tatum traces the closing skin, warning him that such unnatural recovery invites execution. He offers to teach her his internal energy circulation pattern, catching her completely off guard. Her eyes flash with a mix of anger, greed, and intense attraction. Talk about a dangerous woman. Suddenly, his phone alarm cuts in. School starts in 40 minutes. Both girls stare him down intensely, but he just stands up to get ready. Mira safely locks the mysterious bronze vessel away inside her heavy steel cabinet. He grabs his uniform, reflecting on how he just killed a federal investigator. Surviving a lethal shot and starting a love war, all before Granite Bay Preparatory. Just 40 minutes after surviving death, he is fast asleep in his classroom. The beautiful class president, Bethany Sutton, desperately tries to shake him awake. He barely lifts his head, muttering a quick assurance that he is alive. Then he immediately lets his heavy head drop onto her shoulder. The teacher notices, the class gossips, and a massive rumor starts spreading by lunchtime. Everyone thinks they were cuddling through their entire advanced math class. The teacher writes a 10-point problem on the blackboard, turning gossip into a wager. If Derek scores a perfect 10, she will drop the punishment. But miss 1 point, and both of them must run 50 brutal laps. Derek pulls Bethany back, joking that he needs his legs for even worse decisions. He calmly walks up, solves the entire problem, and earns a perfect 10. The teacher erases his punishment, but the relationship rumors only grow far worse. Bethany hugs him out of pure relief, right as Avery Henson reaches the door. Avery stares directly at the arms wrapped around his waist, absolutely shocking. Her friend whispers that this lunch is about to get incredibly violent. At lunch, Avery sits across from him, slamming both hands down on the table. She demands an explanation, her fierce glare locking dead on him. Avery crosses her arms, narrow-eyed, an absolutely masterful interrogation technique. He explains that Bethany was only helping him stay awake, pleading her case. Her friend whispers that he is totally cooked, earning a quick kick. Then Avery slides a sealed case over, playfulness instantly vanishing. Inside lies a ruined, pitch-black sample, strong enough to melt test plates. Avery reveals a $200 million valuation, warning the dose is toxic. The failed reaction actually exposed a brand new pathway they can rebuild safely. The Hensons will pay and supply every single ingredient. His old-world cultivation route simply does not fit these modern Granite Bay bodies. And yet, failure just walked in carrying a $200 million tag. Somehow, the ugliest poison formulas and failures just keep making him rich. He takes the ingredients, asking what happens when locals force aura through native techniques. Avery grips his wrist tightly, warning that their channels will literally tear. They risk infertility or death, but he silently resolves to test it anyway. Avery's grip tightens instantly, knowing that tone always translates to absolute trouble. She knows him disturbingly well for someone with zero memory of their past. Back home that afternoon, his father scolds him for the fresh bandages. Not to mention the federal-grade bullet hole in his uniform and those wild rumors. Peter points at the wound, rest up, then the doorbell rings. Tatum enters with medicine, her timing just as terrible as always. Tatum offers to supervise him, which brings his father absolutely zero comfort. She sets the medicine down, demanding he teach her that promised healing pattern. He warns her that his ancient root might clash with her native meridians. Tatum lies down on his bed anyway, letting him guide a single thread of aura deep below her ribs. Trained in native methods since childhood, her body should recognize it easily. Instead, the aura surges violently, sending a dark line racing across her side. Tatum's back arches in agony as the meridian swells up beneath his fingers. He quickly shuts the channel, pinning her shoulders to drag the energy out. Tatum bites the blanket hard until the swelling finally begins to fade. His ancient method forces power differently, and mixing them blindly is extremely dangerous. Just then, Peter walks in while he is leaning closely over her. Tatum looks up, complaining that his son almost tore her apart. His father immediately shuts the door, yelling a quick apology. He promises to knock longer next time, making Tatum laugh despite her pain. He covers his face. 3 centuries did not prepare him for this. He seals Tatum's swollen meridian and calls the Royce estate for their manual. Before he can leave, Ronan sends over 2 security photos and a brief note. Notes from the roadblock investigation reveal one investigator dressed all in blue. The other carries a green federal seal that matches Gwen's own pistol. The note confirmed they checked the auctions, local clinics, and black market. Medical contacts, the green-robed woman also asked if her fiancé had visited Griffin Reserve. He felt bad for the guy Granite Bay had. Terrible luck with women and paperwork. An hour later, back at his place. He tested the bronze vessel. It absorbed his aura perfectly without cracking. The soulbound sword finally settled against the bronze, halting the grinding in his chest. His overflowing aura quickly shaped into a blank black mask. Federal investigators already had his badge and car, making this disguise absolutely essential. The sealed ancient wine pulsed strongest around female meridian paths, so he left it sealed. Until he deciphered the native manual. That evening at the Royce estate, Monica. Royce listened to his offer over dinner. He promised combat pills capable of boosting strength by 30%. In exchange, he wanted to read the Royce Marshall manual. Monica immediately shut the book. This manual stays within the family, she told him. Mary Tatum smirked, the same Royce aunt from the earlier gate fight who smiled across the table. Only husbands receive protection and knowledge while guests only get dinner. He set down his fork, then the guest declines. Tatum watched him closely as he walked out. Once outside, he called Ronan, who confirmed that elite families never sold their sacred martial manuals. Lowering his voice, Ronan warned that ancient methods made men compatible by mutilating them. He stared in disbelief while Ronan crossed his legs, telling him to invent a better method. He was highly attached to his current equipment. A very strong research position, indeed. Instead, he headed straight to Mira's apartment, refusing to accept family surgery as science. She had already received the rare Henson ingredients. She lined the sealed boxes beside the bronze vessel, pointing at them proudly. He placed the stabilized vessel over the ingredients and channeled his aura through. The metal stayed ice cold, whereas any ordinary container would have shattered. Gold surged through the vessel, entering the ingredients and condensing into neat combat pills. The very first pill packed a clean 30% boost. The vessel had stabilized his sword and delivered the product he promised. Mira carefully lifted one with tweezers, saying, "He made a fortune in her kitchen. Her kitchen was making them rich." Mara set the pill down, grabbed his collar, and told him to stay. He did, kissing and ignoring the clock completely. But then Mira suddenly pulled back, asking before things got reckless if his aura methods affected pregnancy risk. He froze. The brilliant hacker had killed the mood with responsible research. Honestly, pretty Impressive, they would use protection and caution, he assured her. Mira nodded, satisfied, telling him he could continue being distracting, but his phone rang before they restarted. Colin Royce was calling because Tatum wanted him outside. Before hanging up, he blurted out that he saw Avery's orange-haired friend, asking if she was single. Colin was so incredibly nervous that he tripped over his words. He offered to help. Colin exhaled in relief, but he told the guy to stop sounding like a hostage. Reading a ransom note, 10 minutes later, outside Mira's building, Tatum waited beside her. Car with milk tea, Colin stood by the passenger door, looking incredibly anxious. He checked the cup seal, but Tatum unwrapped the straw herself. The drug was hidden inside, and he tasted the distinct bitterness. 3 swallows too late, Colin saw his hand misses the cup. He shouts at Tatum as she catches him, before he falls, putting him in the passenger seat and locking the doors while Colin hits the window as Tatum drives off, his vision going dark under her looming face. She drugged him again. Talk about a brutal betrayal, leaving him completely blacked out. Waking up fully dressed on a bed in the Royce guest room, he sees Tatum sitting right beside him with the family manual on her lap, prompting him to back away. He warns her she repeated the first violation, telling her to do it again and lose him. Tatum's smile vanishes as she opens the manual, a book his family only gives to blood or marriage. He points out she could have asked, but she simply counters that he always refuses. Then hear the refusal, he snaps, making her look down. Second, pleading she needs him to choose her before they take him. Her fear was real. But the method was still ugly. His head clears completely before he holds out his hand. He tells her he will call her a future wife to secure the manual, but it doesn't buy her. Tatum looks up on dangerous probation. She places the manual in his palm. He sets it aside, pulls her close, and kisses her first. Tatum spots his jacket on the chair, puts it on, and rolls up the sleeves. He demands it back, but Tatum calls it her future wife tax. Candidate probation theft recorded. She keeps it anyway. With his head clear and the manual secured, he takes Tatum to the Royce training room, pouring one measured cup of the sealed ancient wine to guide her aura through the native pathway in the book. Her body absorbs the wine without fighting it at all. One meridian opens, then another, power climbing through several layers before the cup even empties. Tatum strikes the practice wall, burying her fist deep through the padding. The guards outside stop, pretending they are not listening. Tatum turns to him with a grin, attacking immediately to test her new strength. He blocks her first punch, redirects the second, and catches her wrist. Tatum laughs. They would be terrifying together. She already is. The next afternoon at school, Avery sees Tatum wearing his jacket and hears her boasting about being his future wife. Avery blocks his desk, accusing him of spending the night with her and giving away his jacket. He retorts that Tatum does not own him, nor does she. Avery pulls out a single combat pill from the new batch, slamming her elbow down on the classroom table, demanding they settle this right here. If he beats her, she will tolerate Tatum. If she wins, Tatum leaves. Tatum just smiles from the wall. Avery swallows one pill with a smirk, claiming she only needs one. The boost hits. Her grip tightens hard enough to crack the wood. He lets her push him halfway down, letting her think she is winning before opening one aura channel to slam her hand onto the table. The loud crack silences the classroom as Avery stares in disbelief. The 30% boost worked, but it still could not close the gap. She releases him and points at Tatum, warning she only tolerates her temporarily. Tatum just blows a kiss, making Avery turn back to demand he marry her first. He goes home that evening with her marriage demands still unanswered. Opens the front door, and Alina Fairfax steps inside with a signed betrothal contract. She comes from a powerful political dynasty, and right now, that paper matters far more than her family name as she places the document down. The contract sat on their table, approved by Madame Callahan and the Fairfax family. But he immediately tore it in half, holding up the pieces of what was actually just a copy. She kicked him clean through the doorway, but he caught the frame to stabilize himself. Swinging back inside, he returned the strike, which Alina blocked with one arm. She drove her heel directly toward his ribs, proving herself stronger and faster than Avery. She was quicker than Tatum, easily proving strong enough to enforce this contract. They traded 3 heavy blows across the room, with Alina smiling as they clashed. She grinned when he caught her fist, but his smile returned as her balance shifted. She swept his leg, but he held his golden sword right beside her throat. Alina froze with her boot on his chest, staring at the blade, then laughed. She called a truce and followed him outside to the driveway, looking him over. She inspected his face like a prize, noting he was surprisingly strong. She found him much stronger and better looking than the report claimed. Leaner grabbed his tie and yanked him close, warning him about his reckless attitude. Warning him he would fail his university goals, he just hooked her ankle. He pinned her against the car, teasingly telling her he enjoyed practical exams. Leaner just laughed, and a mysterious green seal flashed beneath her cuff. He recognized that shape from federal equipment and immediately noted the dangerous detail. Keeping his sword ready, he watched as she playfully tapped his chest. She liked that her future husband could fight back before driving away. She left with the torn contract and a massive wave of confidence. His family had sent a fiancé who flirted through deadly threats. Talk about a complicated engagement. This was definitely no longer simple paperwork. Now the upcoming sports festival forced him to keep his promise to Jasper. 2 days later, he sat near the basketball court, studying a diagram. He was studying cultivation when an angry student snatched the book. The boy threw it into the dirt, telling him to stop acting important. Jasper quickly stepped in, offering to join the game in his place. Instead, the student shoved Jasper and aggressively bit him on the arm. This bully went from sports pressure to acting like a wild animal. He pulled the attacker off Jasper, striking a pressure point below his ribs. Twisting the student's wrist behind his back, he forced him to his knees. He calmly mentioned that biting his friend was a stupid way to ask. When the boy tried to swing from the ground, he pressed the point again. The student instantly vomited on his own shoes just as the council arrived. Seeing their badges, the boy covered his mouth and bolted away in panic. He ran for the locker rooms while his friends abandoned him. Jasper clutched his bitten arm, muttering that the display was absolutely disgusting. In the infirmary, 3 of the student's friends tried to blame him. Fortunately, Avery walked in before the argument could turn into a physical fight. Avery looked at Jasper's bite, reminding him of his promise to play. Knowing she was right, he closed his cultivation diagram and agreed. He resolved to make the festival coordinators regret ever inviting them. At the court, those petty students had coated his chair with industrial glue. Noticing the wet shine, he simply sat down 2 seats away. Then Avery arrived, argued with a coach, and dropped into the empty chair. The glue held, and when Avery stood up, her uniform pants ripped right open. The gym fell silent for one dangerous second. Derek quickly took off his jacket, tying it around her waist as she glared daggers at the prankster boys. Who did it? All 3 instantly pointed at each other, classic pranksters. Derek stood shielding Avery, but she caught him looking toward the guilty boys. Eyes up, boyfriend, she warned. She was already identifying future patients. That was a good answer. Her fierce glare completely silenced the crowd. The rival school had spent the first half of the game pretending to be weak. But now their players could not miss, and Derek's team was falling behind. The rival school's president strolled onto center court with a smug smile. If they won, the president announced, Derek must train with them. That meant full access. Avery crossed her arms and said they could not afford it. The president pointed at the scoreboard and dared her to stop them instead. Avery ordered Derek onto the court. When he asked for a reward, she leaned close. She promised to wear the cheerleader uniform he always pretended not to care about. Not gonna lie, that cheerleader bribe worked instantly, and Derek joined the game. The rival captain guarded him closely, moving with a strange, calculated balance. Derek immediately recognized those movements from the women's division before scoring. The captain answered with a brutal foul, mocking Derek as delicate. Derek scored again, making the crowd instantly switch sides to cheer for him. Jasper even started waving his bitten arm to lead the chant for Derek. When the captain blocked his path, Derek hooked a finger under their waistband. He yanked the oversized shorts down, revealing what the captain wore underneath. A registered women's uniform, complete with an official roster number. The gym absolutely exploded. In a panic, the captain grabbed the fallen shorts. She screamed at her president, who frantically tried to claim it was a mistake. But that official roster number exposed the entire cheat for everyone to see. Their own bench erupted in chaos, and the president could no longer deny it. Student council recorded the disqualification as the angry crowd turned on them. The captain, who called Derek delicate, had just speedrun her own public embarrassment. Talk about an amateur mistake. Avery suddenly grabbed Derek's face with both hands. She planted a kiss on his cheek right in front of the entire court. She teased that his reward had improved, but Derek looked at his jacket. He joked that her uniform had improved too, earning a playful shoulder shove. 3 days later, Derek carried the male path diagrams into the training pavilion. A dark sedan with a federal seal sat across the street as he went inside. Once inside, Avery summoned him onto the mat and attacked without warning. He blocked 2 lightning-fast kicks, caught her wrist, and swept her legs. Avery tapped out immediately, but the moment Derek released her and turned around, she hooked his ankle, dragging him down into a tight shoulder pin. She smirked and told him the fight was not over because she changed her mind. It was completely shameless. Avery pinned him down, demanding the answers he promised. She pointed out that Tatum got a knight, a jacket, and wife status. Before Derek could even reply, she cut him off with a sudden kiss. He offers a hand. The fight is finally over, fair, brutal, and totally effective, at the edge of the floor. Avery introduces Tobias Henson, her father, and the resident head of the pavilion. Tobias stares at him like a man calculating the damage to his property. The 3 prankster boys approach first, looking guilty. They bow, apologize for the glue trap, and admit they fought dirty. He makes them repeat the apology directly to Avery, who accepts only after promising painful consequences if another uniform gets ruined. Tobias calls him in for a private talk. Once the door shuts, Tobias judges his cheap clothes, young age, and that soul sword necklace. "You are rude," Tobias sneers. "You got rich too fast, hoarding women while expecting my daughter to follow." Tobias steps closer, barking that he has no real family standing here. He insists his family is different. Tobias demands he marry into the Henson clan and obey their rules, but our boy answers, "I will never marry in." Oh, he did not just do that. Tobias slaps him hard and the room goes silent. As Tobias raises his hand to demand respect, he grabs his wrist. He warns him, "You only hit me because being her father makes you untouchable. Try again." Tobias swings with his free hand, but he blocks it. He slams the older man into the practice wall. Tobias kicks his knee, shattering a weapon rack across the floor. This guy is strong, way smarter than any of Calvin's guards. Tobias strikes high, but he reads the shoulder, slips right under it, and crashes Tobias through a wooden table. The door bursts open from the crash. Avery and the boys watch Tobias struggle up from the wreckage. To save face, Tobias charges, but he grabs his collar, spinning to slam him hard onto the mat. Then, he summons the golden sword. The blade presses cold against his throat. Tobias freezes as he warns him, "I will never beg for Avery, nor let her family put a price on me." Tobias looks at his daughter. Avery stands completely frozen, then turns and walks out. He lowers the blade and follows. Outside, Avery blocks his path, demanding, "Did you say you would never marry me?" He refuses her father's leash, reassuring her that he still chooses her, but her eyes remain hard. He confesses he has no marriage plans, but still wants her forever without buying her father's permission. She glares, crossing her arms. He slyly suggests they discuss it after she accepts Tatum as his second wife. Avery punches him hard, enough to push him back, calling him shameless, though she already knew that. She argues all the way to the gate, which only makes him smile. Just when you think they can catch a breath, a senior mountain master steps out from the trees, slamming the pavement right between them. She wants blood, because he maimed her 2 brothers while rescuing Tatum. The mountain master points a finger at his golden necklace, demanding his secret martial technique. He steps in front of Avery, joking that she crossed the entire city just for his necklace. He tells her she should at least buy him dinner first. Angered, she grabs his collar and drives a strike into his shoulder. His arm goes completely numb. Avery rushes in, but he barks at her to run inside and find the strongest Henson elder. The master strikes again, blasting Avery back through the gate. She wants his secrets, so he is safe. He barely remained conscious. That was his only chance to stall as she dragged him. He warned his captor. His fiancée gets jealous as they drove 2 blocks away. 2 blocks out, a dark sedan cut them off. A green-robed fighter leaped down. Landing between them, the masked warrior kept her face fully covered. A federal seal marked her weapon. The sectmaster attacked immediately. Letting him go, the sectmaster lunged, shattering the car window. The green fighter used incredibly agile footwork. The sectmaster struck heavily, constantly trying to grab him. She blocked the street, but nobody was free yet. They fought over him and wrecked the vehicle. Meanwhile, he flexed his fingers. He waited. The sectmaster committed both arms to a crushing blow. The fighter blocked high. He released a golden sword line. It slipped past her defense, forcing her to suddenly freeze. She looked down and collapsed, dead before she could react. Immediately, the green fighter turned her weapon directly on him. Then she pulled away her mask, removing the dark wig. Blonde hair fell across her shoulders as Eleanor Fairfax smiled. His fiancée was actually the investigator, arriving to save him. She claimed she came to save her husband, but he killed her suspect. She aimed her weapon at his chest, tossing 3 photos. The first showed his auction badge, and the second showed his getaway car. The last photo placed his vehicle outside Mira's building. "You killed Gwen Kendall," she accused. He stared at the muzzle. He praised her tracking. Just then, a diagram fell. A folded cultivation diagram slipped from his pocket during the scuffle. She picked it up without lowering her gun, her expression shifting. She muttered that this could qualify her for the university. It could solve a secret she hid for years. Keeping her gun raised, she offered to delay the Callahans. In exchange, he had to examine her, using family duty as an excuse. The Fairfaxes needed her married, and the Callahans offered him. He offered a combat pill. In return, she showed 6 high-grade rounds. They were level 3 rounds, far higher grade than Gwen's gear. Even without a compatible gun, he eagerly traded his pill for the case. She lowered her weapon. A pale scar marked her face. He gently placed 2 fingers beside the scar, guiding his aura to heal her. The damaged skin smoothed out, and her expression softened. Eleanor checked the vehicle mirror and touched her cheek in disbelief. She tried to speak but stopped. Then he felt a deeper injury. A major meridian had been completely diverted from its path. The scar was cosmetic, but this was a real injury. He warned her that someone had deliberately redirected her entire aura route. He could treat it, but he could not name the culprit. Her rage flared, the channel tightened, but he grabbed her wrist. "Get angry later," he warned, before she closed it permanently. Breathing hard, he said her family needed this marriage, but his wanted control. "Hold the Callahans off while he finished the treatment," he urged. Eleanor looked at the healed side of her face again. Then she lowered her weapon completely. Before leaving the roadside, Eleanor opened a slim case and placed a fresh Fairfax Patrol contract in his hands. The seal was intact and his name appeared beside hers again. She reminded him he tore the first copy, so keep this new one. Powerful family red seals always came before explanations. He folded the contract and Eleanor left him level 3 null rounds, a restored contract, and promised to hold his family back. Before midnight, Jillian's second call would make every problem he had treated like a side quest deeply personal again. Before that second call, Eleanor's bargain created immediate fallout. He was home when Avery sent a wreck photo, shattered vehicle, dead security master, and her furious face. "The corner alive," she texted. He messaged back yes, and her reply arrived instantly, telling him to return before she decided Tatum was responsible. Cruel but effective. At dinner, he told Peter and Diane that Eleanor had flown to the federal capital to buy them some time. Diane spun the new Fairfax contract between her fingers, asking how much time they had, as long as his treatment remained valuable. Eleanor's latest message said she was investigating everyone connected to him. The federal pause would only last as long as he stayed useful. Peter slid another serving toward him. Dinner stayed quiet for 5 whole minutes, a new record, but peace never lasts. He called Jillian because she ignored his texts. His sister answered from a dark room, a young man sitting so close he quickly scrambled out of frame when he noticed the call. He leaned in, telling her to tell that guy her boyfriend just called. The young man popped right back into view. Jillian almost dropped her phone. She told him he was her brother, then glared through the screen. She told him he needed professional help, but he joked about screening applicants. Ignoring his embarrassment, he watched as Jillian refused to name him. She did accept the money he sent her for food and travel, though. He told her to spend it responsibly, and she smiled, claiming she was dating responsibly. The young man moved closer, pulling a blanket over Jillian's shoulder. She let him. That was a big step for her. When he asked if she was safe, her guest answered first. He immediately checked the locked door behind them. Jillian nudged him with an elbow. She elbowed him but did not tell him to leave. The next morning at Granite Bay Preparatory, the 3 pranksters behind the glue chair disaster bowed by his desk. Boss, the tallest one, announced, "Teach us the male path." Just yesterday they had apologized. Today they had promoted him without consent. He unfolded the diagram. Leaner had noticed. He warned them it was pure theory, with no aura allowed yet. The shortest boy promised to be careful. He simply pointed at the chair. They had once covered in industrial glue, reminding them their record said otherwise. After school, he put the tallest boy on a balance beam. He fell in 3 seconds and dragged another boy down. Only balance, he ordered them, and absolutely no aura yet. All 3 cheered anyway. Jasper asked if joining required prior humiliation. He replied that it apparently helped. Later, Tatum Royce arrived at lunch, carrying 2 milk teas. Her brother Colin reached for one, but Tatum moved it. Derek sees Tatum claim the first drink. Colin stares at the second cup, asking about that one. Tatum pulls it closer, also Derek's. She was definitely marking her territory. Beverage-based territory marking. Before she reaches him, a Henson guard interrupts. He opens the classroom door, asking Derek to step outside where Avery's parents wait. They sit inside a black car by the curb, her father still looking bruised. Bruised from their pavilion fight, her mother is calm, which is much worse. They let Derek sit, then start pricing his value without even asking him. Avery's mother calls him reckless, uneducated in local families, and dangerous. Avery's future, her father calls his formula poison, his money suspicious. Derek lets them finish. Arrogant people reveal useful things when nobody interrupts. Avery's father leans forward. Does one public fight make them equals? Derek looks at the man's bruise. He replies that losing that fight made him emotional. The father's bruise darkens in anger. Avery's mother cuts him off quickly. She stops him before he suffers another verbal defeat, then names Derek's own family. She demands he end this relationship, targeting businesses connected to Diane Callahan. One phone call to their suppliers will make her next quarter incredibly painful. They finally targeted his real weak spot, Diane's company. Derek opens the car door. Threatening his family was a terrible idea. Avery reaches the curb before he can step out, looking at everyone. She asks what they said. Instead of answering, Derek pulls her clothes and kisses her. He does it right in front of her parents. Avery freezes, then kisses him back harder. Her father's hand tightens on the door. Her mother's facade cracks. Derek pulls away, just discussing their relationship, he says. Avery ends the discussion. Nearby, Tatum watches the whole scene. She holds both milk teas, crushing them slightly. Oh boy, talk about bad timing. The walking red flag now has caffeine. Tatum hooks an arm around Derek's waist. She lifts him clean off the pavement, carrying him off as Avery calls out. Avery demands she put her boyfriend down. Tatum opens the passenger door, unbothered. He can walk once he learns some manners. Derek points out his spilling drinks. Tatum shoves a cup into his hand and slams the car door shut. Leaning across the console, Tatum warns him not to kiss other women in front of her. Derek holds up his crushed drink, explaining she arrived during a family threat. Tatum taps the cup against his chest, pointing out he still used his mouth. He jokes about being versatile under pressure, and Tatum's glare almost becomes a smile. Derek explains the threat against Diane's suppliers, and Tatum's hand suddenly freezes. She demands to know which suppliers, but Derek does not know yet. He tells her to find the 2 they can freeze quickest. Tatum grabs her phone. Suddenly, his sister Jillian calls. Her trembling voice apologizes to their parents. A sudden strike cuts her off, and another woman takes over. She demands he come to the Velvet Hour, 67th floor, in 30 minutes. He must come alone or collect his sister's body. The call cuts off. Derek bolts out of Tatum's car before she can ask anything, 27 minutes later. He enters the Velvet Hour, an underworld venue Jillian hid from their family. The elevator goes up 67 floors, each red light acting as a countdown. Doors open to a guarded hallway, showing a red service stair sign. Glowed behind the station, the female guards stepped aside the second they heard Derek's name. One checked her phone's countdown. He had arrived with only 3 minutes left. Nobody searched him or tried to touch the sword necklace beneath his shirt. That felt far worse than an actual fight. Whoever controlled this top floor clearly wanted him armed, furious. Jillian sat bound to a chair beneath a heavy chandelier. Her cheek was swollen, blood stained her mouth, the jade ward he gave her lay cracked, spent after a single blow. Derek stopped smiling, veiled. Woman waited near the window. Serena Huxley owned Velvet Hour, controlling enough of the local underworld that the guards watched her hands before even breathing. Serena touched the red handprint on her cheek, noting that Derek's sister used to work there and had actually struck her when brought back to the club. Jillian lifted her head, but Derek silently signaled her no. Even bound, she had fought back. The mark on Serena's cheek proved it. Derek unleashed his soul sword. Charging straight at Serena, she caught his wrist before the golden blade reached her. Veil slamming her palm into his chest, he crashed into a pillar, landing on one knee. Jillian pulled against her ropes, begging him to stop. Serena had hurt her badly enough that she wanted him to run, which stung worse than the strike. He stood up anyway. This power gap was massive. Serena was stronger than any opponent Derek had ever faced. He swallowed a combat pill, or a surge, through his legs, boosting his strength by roughly 30%. He closed the distance, again splitting his sword into 3 lines to attack her from different angles. Serena pivoted once, letting 2 miss before catching the third between her fingers. Her knee slammed his ribs, but he blocked enough to stay conscious. The marble beneath his shoes cracked anyway. Changing tactics, his next sword strike slashed the heavy chandelier chain. Shattered crystal rained down between them, and Derek moved through the falling glass, lunging straight for the guard holding Jillian's chair. Serena intercepted him. She caught his collar, spun around, and slammed him straight back into that same pillar. His combat pill had boosted his speed. But Serena still moved first. She tilted her head as Derek wiped blood from his lip. Derek accused her of hitting his sister. Serena's playful amusement vanished. She finally explained why Jillian had gotten mixed up with the Winslow heir, the son of one of Granite Bay's strongest families. They wanted this relationship ended, and Serena was hired to retrieve Jillian and settle the insult. Pointing to her cheek, Serena noted his sister had added interest. Send her home, Derek demanded. Serena named her price, $300 million. He had assets worth far more than cash, 20 spirit stones. Serena's guard stared at him differently, and the guard near Jillian stopped smiling. Serena stood. 20 stones would cover the dispute. Jillian shook her head, begging him not to pay. He saw the loosened rope around her wrist, realizing she was buying time. Serena heard him, her veil shifting. With a smile, she stepped closer to lift Derek's chin. One night with her would cover his disrespect. This ransom had turned into ownership. He was done negotiating. Derek let her believe he was actually considering it. She ordered a guard to loosen Jillian's ropes. That was exactly the opening Derek needed. Serena suddenly lifted him into a bridal carry, walking toward a private room. He watched Jillian's loosened ropes, demanding to be let down. Serena replied they would talk inside. In the side room, Serena pulls out a syringe, instantly ending the negotiation. A soul sword flashes. Derek moves fast, clean cut. He kicks off her chest, firing 2 golden lines through the lights. Pitch black, a third line slices Jillian's loose restraints. Reaching her before the guards find their flashlights, he scoops her up. He dashes straight for the service stairs he mapped out earlier as a golden slash cuts through the locking bar. As the steel door slams shut, Serena reaches the exit just as it closes, watching Derek carry Jillian away. She yells that the 20 stones debt still stands. Her voice sounds. Serena is highly amused. Hostage lost, new hobby. Down on the street, Jillian wraps her arm tight around Derek's neck. Princess, she whispers, shifting her weight. He smiles. Jillian's mouth twitches, teasing him instead. He jokes that her trauma ruined her judgment. Her painful laugh is a beautiful start, but Serena still wants those 20 stones. The powerful Winslow family still controls the man Derek's sister loves. Unbelievable. Getting Jillian home leaves only one clear move: infiltrate Winslow. That night, Peter opens the door and sees Jillian in Derek's arms. He turns pale. Derek spins a lie, claiming the police raided Velvet Hour and rescued her during an arrest. Jillian backs the lie with a tired nod. Peter stares at her, bruises, swallowing his doubts. Does this involve their mother's company? Hearing that, Derek stops dead, frozen halfway up the stairs. Deanne has been sleeping at her office. Major clients are bailing. Orders, employees are being sent home, and a key supplier froze deliveries. Jillian is finally safe, but now his mother's business is taking a brutal, coordinated hit. Peter sends Derek to Diane's office before any more clients can cancel. By next morning, half the desks at the office are completely empty. A canceled order sits on the monitor, flagged under the Henson supplier network. The receptionist blocks Derek's path, claiming Miss Callahan is too busy. She rudely assumes he is just a distant nephew looking for a handout. Suddenly, Deanne Callahan steps out from her office, coldly announcing that Derek is her own son. The secretary spins around in shock, her badge slamming against the desk. Deanne points directly to the elevator, telling her she is fired. She has zero patience for people who insult her family's social standing. The secretary tries to argue, but Diane just keeps pointing. Without blinking, the fired receptionist takes off her badge and quickly walks out. Once she goes, Diane pulls Derek inside, locks her door, and demands to hear the truth. He explains Jillian was kidnapped over a forbidden romance with a Winslow heir. The police story was fake. He keeps the ransom secret. Peter has enough nightmares already. Hearing this, Diane grips her desk. She asks if her 18-year-old son really went in alone, her grip tightening when he nods. With a shaking hand, Diane picks up some water, warning him that Tatum. Blaming Tatum, she warns him against fighting this war alone. To prove he can handle it, Derek magically lifts the water directly out of her glass. The liquid curls around his fingers, floating over the canceled contract. He splits it into 6 floating beads, then returns every single drop. Glass sits untouched. Diane does not move as he lifts the metal letter opener from her desk. He holds it in the air right beside the water, telling her he is already inside this world. He warns her to stop hiding threats. Diane looks at the water, then back up at him. She opens a desk drawer and pulls out the jade ward pendant he had given her. She mentions his father called it a temple charm, worrying better when the lie was simple. Diane closes her fingers around the jade, asking if he can truly protect Jillian. He saved her from Serena and says the Winslows are just the next problem. Diane slips the ward around her neck, sliding the canceled contract over to him. She tells him to say what the family can do, her hand finally steady. The office door swings open before another word can be spoken, and Tatum Royce enters. Tatum walks in with breakfast, calling Diane mother-in-law, shocking his mother. Tatum places a folder on the desk, announcing she found the frozen suppliers. The Royce family is ready to replace both and secure the next shipment. Diane scans the first page, seeing that one replacement shipment can leave today. The second will follow tomorrow, but before Tatum can even finish explaining. Diane's phone rings, with a manager confirming a Royce truck is loading. His mother sits up straighter, asking how fast they can get this done. Tatum taps the paper, one shipment today, another tomorrow. Diane looks up, stunned. She demands to know why Tatum is doing this, but Tatum responds smoothly. She calls it a family investment, but he remarks she means future wife. Tatum smiles, teasing Diane that he only rambles when he gets nervous. Flirting with his mother while fixing a crisis shows some truly terrifying efficiency. He shows Tatum one of Alina's level 3 null rounds, demanding a specialized gun. He needs something compact enough to sneak straight into the Winslow estate. Tatum rolls the bullet, asking if he is really breaking in. Pointing toward the district, he says he is asking for permission first. Tatum holds up the custom bullet next to a standard federal round. He likes being prepared, and Tatum promises she will source the weapon. Then she spots a message from Avery on his phone. This walking red flag grabs him. She drags him by his tie straight into the private office bathroom. Tatum shuts the door, confronting him about kissing Avery right in front of her parents. He straightens his tie, explaining they threatened his mother. Tatum jabs a finger at him. She asks if his mouth was the punishment. He replies it was available. Tatum leans in close, telling him to use it on her instead. He takes the bullet back. He demands she bring the gun first. Her offended face is worth the trouble. She kisses his cheek, promises the gun, and leaves, calling Diane mother-in-law. While Tatum fixes the shipment, Jillian still needs him to infiltrate the family. This pressure weighs heavily. That afternoon, he stakes out the Winslow estate. High walls, security cameras, and active guards cover every single entrance. A delivery truck pulls up to the main gate for inspection. Security checks every single compartment, forcing the driver to lift the mats. They even scan the roof as an older woman watches silently from the balcony. With just one look down, every guard instantly straightens up with absolute fear. She commands far more authority than Serena. He could shatter the gate easily, but these people could destroy his family, so he chooses to watch instead of charging. He stood right beside the car, asking what she knew before she arrived entirely alone. Without guards, she stood directly between him and the massive family estate. She revealed her mother had threatened Diane's company just that morning. Silencing her driver's repeated calls, Avery stayed. He softly told her that he believed her. Avery kept watching. Talk does not fix this, only action does. She took his hand, offering herself as a tool, prompting a warning about dangerous wording. Squeezing his fingers to punish the joke, she named her primary obstacles. The hidden elder controlled the grounds, while the matriarch ruled everything else. She controlled the estate, the heir, and every single marriage decision made around the elder. If he entered by force, the elder would stop him before the house. That evening he visited Mira Lel, a hacker capable of blinding estate cameras. Mira opened her apartment door to him. She wore sleep shorts, an oversized shirt, and massive pink hair hiding potential weapons. Leaning on the doorframe, she noted he only visited when someone rich needed robbing. He requested blueprints, cameras, alarms, and patrol movements. Mira stared. Noticing the lack of flowers, she joked about romance until he showed her a bullet. Once inside, Mira immediately pulled up a live camera grid of the entire Winslow estate. She warned him that cracking the system would take hours and solve very little. Fighters would remain awake, but he only needed her to blind the cameras. Leaving the physical guards to him, Mira slid back into her chair and started hacking. Suddenly, the front door unlocked as Tatum walked inside using Mira's spare key. The key she had given Tatum while he was bleeding. She stared at him. Then she noticed Mira's bare legs showing clearly beneath her oversized shirt, raising her brow. Mira pointed, immediately warning of his break-in plan. Tatum snapped, pointing out that he protects her constantly, but still manages to get shot. With a joke about versatility, he watched Tatum throw the emergency key. Sailing straight through the open kitchen window, she quickly stormed out. Mira complained about losing her spare, while he openly called Tatum a walking red flag. Defending herself, she claimed she was busy keeping his organs together. Fair defense. Suddenly, a loud gunshot shattered the silence, hitting the door. Talk about a dramatic entry. Tatum stood calmly outside with a compact black pistol, smoke still curling from the barrel. Calling out, she claimed she aimed low enough to ruin his dating schedule. Mira ducked behind the desk, screaming that shooting was definitely not emergency access. He quickly crossed the room, disarmed her, and removed the magazine before she did more. Inside, he found one of Alina's level 3 rounds, resting in the chamber. The gun's frame carried the exact green federal seal from the bureau. It turned out Tatum had actually found the exact rare weapon he requested that morning. Mira rose slowly from behind her desk, staring in absolute shock at the rare weapon. Tatum looked at them, claiming she merely completed his request with a threat. Her methods were terrifying, but he had to admit the result was excellent. He happily checked the chamber, as if she had just delivered a perfect birthday present. Smiling, he thanked her for actually locating the incredibly difficult weapon. Tatum stared, claiming she only shot at his dignity. He joked she missed. She had shot through a door frame, just to hand him the perfect gun he needed. He hated the terrifying delivery method, but then Tatum announced her car had broken down. He went down, though Mira's camera showed the car idling. She stayed first. Tatum brought water, then skewers, then another chair, placing it directly between Mira and him. Every time Mira reached a protected camera, Tatum asked if he was hungry, cold, tired, or secretly married. Mira finally turned. From the screen, choose now, hack the estate or manage your relationship. Pick one. Tatum opened another container. Multitask, she teased. He grabbed her by the wrist and dragged her into the hall. She reached for the door, but he smacked her hand away. He pointed at the door, telling her to let him work. Tatum's voice dropped. She complained that he always chose her apartment. He pulled her into the elevator, taking her down to the supposedly broken car. Once inside, Tatum grabbed his collar and kissed him. He held her shoulders and stopped her, asking if she was done shooting and choosing for him. Yes, Tatum answered. Did she still want this, he asked. Tatum nodded yes, and he kissed her back. Their argument turned into a private reconciliation. Soon the windows fogged up. That is all the detail the world gets. When they finally sat up, Tatum's forehead rested against his. She admitted she was scared he was drifting away. Avery gets public kisses. Mira gets the place he runs when he is hurt. Alina gets a contract. He told her she got him when she respected his answers, warning that she would lose him if she treated them like decoration. He sent her home so Mira could finish the job. Tatum slapped his shoulder through the open window before driving away, teasing him about playing hard to get. She demanded the whole city as a wedding gift. He looked toward the Winslow estate lights shining above the district, thinking that might be possible. Tatum drove off smiling. Upstairs, Mira was still hacking through the estate systems. Tatum had already delivered the gun. Avery had named the 2 targets. Now, brace yourself, the next part required him to enter completely alone. At night, in Mira's apartment, she confirmed the Winslow Cameras and alarms were compromised. The footage would loop, but the people inside still had eyes, fists, and family pride. He formed the combat mask from his soul. Sword and loaded one level 3 null round into Tatum's pistol. With the root open, he crossed the Winslow wall through a blind corner on Mira's grid. Mira's voice came through his earbud. The east camera loops for 90 seconds. After that, he is expensive. He is always expensive, she noted he was wearing. A gold mask in a tree. The mask made him look like a final boss. His current body still needed several upgrades. He dropped inside the wall, catching a stone ledge, and held there while 2 guards passed beneath him. One discussed the heir's confinement, while the other complained that his mother had doubled the night watch. After Serena lost Jillian, his rescue had already changed the estate. Good, now they were nervous. Avery's warning kept him away from the main path. He moved through the east garden past one dark camera, reaching the guest wing. Before any alarm icon returned, the estate looked calm because old money. Families preferred violence with landscaping. A side courtyard gave him the route. Jillian's jacket hung behind a carved bench. Beside it sat one photo strip of her and the Winslow heir laughing into the same camera. In the last frame, he kissed her forehead beside a 4-pane window. The same window stood at the far end of the guest wing. The photo gave him his target. The heir still had to prove what he would choose when money and family got ugly. A porcelain cup trembled on a balcony above him, held by the Winslow elder. The hidden master Avery had warned him about stood with her maid, while guards below avoided her eyes. Her breathing carried more aura control than Serena ever showed during their first exchange. The Winslow elder suddenly stopped mid-step. Someone entered the east garden, she told the maid. Mira had blinded the cameras. Just a single thread of his aura had disturbed her tea. He sealed every meridian, pressed against the balcony ledge, and held his breath. The elder looked directly toward his hiding place. The cup trembled again. She stepped off the balcony without using stairs, her aura lowering her the final 12 feet. Silent and controlled, she landed and walked toward him. Mira whispered through his earbud, "Derek, she is outside every camera cone." The cameras were useless now. A guard approached from the walkway. The elder raised one hand and the guard froze instantly. He pressed one finger against the stone ledge and sent a sword thread through the grass, flicking a loose pebble into the far gutter. The elder turned toward the sharp knock for 1 second. He used it, letting the 4-pane window lead him to a locked room. At the back of the guest wing, he cut the latch, entered, and shut the door. Behind him, the Winslow heir stood by the window, a well-dressed young man under house arrest, a very expensive way for parents to admit their son had opinions. Seeing the mask, the heir reached for the alarm, but Derek caught his wrist. "Where is Jillian?" he demanded. "Did my mother take her again?" His first question was about his sister. Good start. He removed the mask. "I am Derek Callahan, Jillian's brother. She's safe." The heir sagged against the wall. He covered his face for a breath, asking where Serena had hurt her and whether Jillian could walk. He told the truth. She was beaten, and he carried her home, still insulting him on the way. Relief broke through his fear. "That sounds like her." Then he grabbed his sleeve, pleading to see her. He asked one ugly question first. "Did you use her to embarrass your family?" The heir released him as if insulted physically. "My mother locked me here because I refused." "Avery Henson," he said. "Our parents discussed that marriage without us." The heir pulled a packed bag from beneath the bed. Ordinary clothes and cash filled it. None of the family jewelry had moved. This was ready before he entered, telling him, "I love Jillian and will leave the Winslow name." Tonight, he opened a drawer filled with Jillian's messages, creased train receipts, 2 handwritten notes, and small worn gifts. He had kept all of it, pushing the jewelry drawer shut without looking at it. His hands only shook when he asked whether Jillian had eaten since the rescue. That did more for his case than the family fortune. His sister had found a rich man willing to abandon money, security, and common sense for her. Extremely on brand. He put his mask back on, calling the heir too soft. "She says that too," the heir answered. Excellent. He thought he might survive. The heir lifted his bag and moved toward the window, but Derek blocked him. Running would make Jillian a fugitive, exposing Peter and Diane and letting the matriarch dismiss their love as rebellion. He told him to create a 30-minute distraction. Derek told the heir to draw the guards west while he spoke to his mother. The heir looked toward the door, warning that she would not listen to a word. "Then she can refuse him to his face," Derek countered, making the heir smile. "Jillian called you impossible," the heir remarked, and Derek simply shrugged. The heir took his lover's hair tie from the desk and looped it around his wrist. He told Derek to say he did not break, and Derek jokingly called him useful. 5 minutes later, the alarms in the West Wing began screaming. Glass shattered as voices yelled that the heir had escaped onto the roof. Every corridor guard bolted, allowing Derek to slip into a private passage. A towel-wrapped relative stepped from a bath suite. She grabbed his sleeve, spotting his mask, and looked him up and down, smiling as if the house security had just brought her a toy. He yanked himself free from her grip, but she caught his mask. She tried to lift it and kiss him, so Derek head-butted her. She slumped against the door and stayed down while he casually adjusted his mask. Her sudden attraction had folded on impact, so he crossed the next courtyard. He climbed a tall tree overlooking the courtyard, spotting the Winslow elder. She appeared below with a maid as a guard, reported the heir's escape. The elder glanced toward the east garden, then hurried west with the maid. The distraction worked, and a 30-minute countdown had officially begun. Derek crossed the final courtyard and stepped into the matriarch's private quarters. The Winslow matriarch sat reading at a low table, not even looking up. She controlled the estate, her son's marriage, and the clan. She was the one who paid Serena. Looking up once, she ordered him to leave. Derek closed the door, telling her he had only come for her blessing. She noted his mask, so he pulled it off and declared his name, stating her son wanted to marry his sister, Jillian. Her cold gaze sharpened at the family name. She let her expression cool, leaving the alarm untouched as no guards entered. She declared his sister unsuitable, but Derek rested a hand on the table. Her son disagreed, and she tapped her page, saying he mistook rebellion for love. Derek countered that the young man was ready to throw away everything for her. Her fingers rested by her tea as she called her son a fool. Derek kept his voice steady, stating Serena Huxley took Jillian for her family. He had rescued his sister and warned that the next clash would touch everyone. The matriarch studied him, noting that Serena had actually disobeyed her orders. Outside, the West Wing alarm suddenly cut off, leaving the room dead silent. He waited as she admitted that Serena was supposed to kill Jillian. Keeping her alive only created problems, causing Derek's chest to tighten. He stepped forward, pointing out Serena saved her from a war with him. Her eyes hardened as he demanded she forgive his sister and allow the marriage. He argued they chose each other before drawing his compact pistol and aiming it. He leveled a federal null round at her, which made her look down. She recognized the level 3 federal seal and moved incredibly fast. Before he could even threaten her, her fingers struck his wrist like lightning. The gun flew from his grip into the wall, forcing him to draw his sword. She slipped inside his first line, broke his stance with one palm, and sent him crashing through a wooden screen. He used the impact to hide one sword thread beneath the rug. That same delayed strike had killed the federal envoy. When the matriarch stepped forward, Callahan pulled the thread toward her ankle. She lifted her foot 1 inch, the golden line passed under it. She had read his hidden attack. From the movement of his fingers, he rolled, raised 2 sword threads, and aimed for the floor beneath her feet. She stepped between them. He switched the blade to his left hand and drove toward the open side of her guard. The matriarch caught the flat of his sword with her palm, turned his own force against him, and locked his elbow. Her next strike hit his shoulder and threw him across the room. The soul sword flickered. His ribs failed to pull a full breath. He barely survived Serena with a combat pill, and now this matriarch dismantled his best weapon without taking a single hit. She stood above him. For an 18-year-old man, the matriarch said, "You are unusually impressive." Praise from the woman who ordered my sister killed had no value, as he forced one knee beneath him. The gun had failed. The sword had failed. The matriarch looked down at him and said nothing. He reached inside his jacket, holding a Fairfax patrol contract. The matriarch's hands stopped above her tea. He placed the restored Fairfax document right on the broken table, its seal facing upward. Beside his name, the matriarch took the contract herself. She straightened before reading a single line and handled the seal with both hands. She unrolled. At once, her attention darted from the Fairfax seal to the Callahan name, then back to his face. Her hand froze on the edge of the contract, the T beside it. When untouched, the Winslow matriarch slowly looked up.